lot number 1. We start off with this great Rolls-Royce Silver Spur here. Look at this one, to be offered today with no reserve. Online, you're in 900. I've got 1,000 on the book with me at £1,000. At 1,000 bid, 1,100 next, 1,100, gentleman's bid. At 1,100, we're bid now 11. At 1,100, we're bid. And one more. At £1,100, gentleman's bid. Say 12 if you're coming in. Online's in at 12. 1,200 now. Kettering bidder, you're in. At 1,200, 1,200. Would anyone like to go 13 here for the Rolls-Royce? At 1,300, back to you, sir. At 1,300 bid. At 1,300, 1,300. Take 14 if you want to come in now. Thank you, online. Kent bidder this time. At £1,400, your bid. At 1,400, 1,400. At £1,400 with the online bid and 15's in. At 1,500 now. At 1,500, 1,500. Anyone for 16? At 15 and 16's bid. Thank you, online bidders. At 1,600. Take it to 17 if you wish to go again. 17's bid. 18 straight away. Thank you, online. Fast bidding today. 18 and 1,900 is bid. At £1,900, we're bid now with you, online bidder. At 1,902. 2,000's in. At 2,000, 2,000. We'll stay in the hundreds, ladies and gentlemen. No reserve must be sold today. Make no mistake, online. At £2,000, we're bid. At 2,000, 2,000. Are we finished and done then? Hammer time on the first lot. 2 1s in and away. At 2,001. At 2,100, we're bid. At 2,001 on the 1982 Rolls-Royce Silver Spur here. At £2,100 is the bid. Would anyone like 2-2? Are we finished? Are we done? Hammers up. 2002. Back in with you in Kent. At 2002 and 2-3 bid. At 2003 with the Hans bidder now. At 2003, your bid online. At £2,300. You coming back in for one more. At 2003 is the bid. 2 4s back in. Thanking you. At 2004. At 2004. At 2004 with you, online bidder. At 2004, say 2.5 for one more. Hammers up if not. At 2,400, are we finished and done? We're selling with you, online bidder. 2.5 just in time. At 2005, take it to 2.6 if you're coming back in. At 2005, are we finished and done here? At 2.5, 2.6 is bid. At 2006 now with you, online bidder. At 2007. At 2007, it goes on. At 2007, say 2.8 for one more if you're coming back in online. At 2,700, are we finished? Are we done here? At 2,700, make no mistake. At 2007 once, 2.8s back in. At 2008 and 2.9 bid. At 2009, thank you for your speedy bidding online. I appreciate it today. At £2,900 is your bid at the minute. With you in Leamington at 2009, say 3,000 if you wish to come back in. Are we finished? Are we done? 3's bid. Thank you, online bidder. Kent bidder now again. 3-1 straight away. At 3,001. At 3,000, 3,100 is the bid now. At 3,001, would you like to go 3-2? Are we finished and done here? At £3,100, we'll count you down then online. At 3,100, the bid then once. At 3,100, the bid then twice. All sure, all done. It sells with you, online bidder, and away it goes at £3,100. Sold with you online at £3,100. Thank you, online bidder. You are paddle number 14842. Thanking you. There we go. Moving down the list we go this time, ladies and gentlemen. We move on to lot number 102, 2000 Tiger Super 6. Look at this one. Nice little fun car this is. 5-speed gearbox on this one. Built in 1980 built as well. Great looking colour indeed. Anyone start me off today? Who's got £2,000 to start? 2,000 to come in. Anyone interested here? Tiger Super 6. Get it going for 2. 2, you're in online. Thank you, online bidder now. Say 2-2 next if we can. At £2,000 is bid. At 2-2, gentleman's bid. At 2002, takes 2-4 if you're coming in. At 2002, we're on the floor here, Molly. At 2002. At 2002. At 2002, say 2-4 if you're coming back in online. 2-4 you do. Thank you, online bidder. At 2004. At 2-4's bid with the online bid. Would you like 2-6, sir? 2-6, gentleman's back in. At £2,600, we're bid now at 2006. At 2000, 2006, with a gentleman on the floor here at 2006, 2.8s back in with you online. Cheshire bidder this time at 2008. At 2008, would you like to take it to 3? At 2008, we're bid. At 2000, 2008, are we finished and done? At £2,800 with the online bid at the minute. 3,000's in. At 3,000, back to the gentleman on the floor at £3,000. We'll stay in the 2s for you online. At 3,000, 3,000. At £3,000, 3-2, you're back in. At 3,002, new bidder this time at 3,002. At 3,002. Shakes the head on the floor at 3,002. I'll take the 1s if it helps you answer. Would you like 3-3? At 3,002 is bid with the online bidder at the minute. At 3,002, take 3-3 if anyone else wishes to come in now. At £3,200 with the online bid. 3-3, gentleman's bid here. At 3,003, welcome to the party, sir. At 3,003, your bid. At 3,003. At 3,000, 3,003. 3 4s in online. At 3,004. Leamington bidder, you're back on this one at 3,004. Realised how much of a bargain it was. Jumping in at 3,004. At 3,000, 3,004's bid. Take it to 3.5 if anyone else wishes to come in now. At 3,004. On the Tiger here. At 3.5, thank you, sir. At 3,005. At 3,005 is bid. Online bidder, would you like to come back in for one more? Right-handed at 3.5, 3.6. At 3,006 with the Leamington bidder at £3,600. At 3.6 is bid. At 3,006, would you like 3.7 to come in? 3.7 you do. At 3,007, say 3.8 next if you wish to go again online. At £3,700. Gentleman's bid here right-handed at 3,007. At 3.737, are we finished and done? Online, would you like to take it to 3.8? Or anyone else would like to come in and have a bid on this one? Come and get your clause in at 3,007. Are we finished and done? Last chance in fair warning then. £3,700 with the gentleman here at 3,007. We'll count you down once, twice. Finished and done at £3,700. That's provisionally with you, 304. Thank you, 304. That is a provisional bid of £3,700. Thanking you. Moving down the list we go to the first TVR in today's sale, 1990. It's the TVR 2.9C. Have a good look at this one. Lovely one in the Monza red as well. Looks great indeed in the showroom here. Anyone interested today? Start me off. I don't know who's got £2,000 to start for a nice TVR here. £2,000 seems cheap to me. 2,000, you're in online. At 2,000, we'll go 2.2. At £2,000 is bid. Say 2.2 if you're coming in with the online bidder at the minute. At £2,000. At 2,000, 2,000. Say 2.2 for one more. At £2,000 we're bid. At 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. Would anyone else like to come in now? 2.2 you do. Thank you. At 2,002. Say 2.4 next. At 2,002. Online bidder, would you like to go 2.4? At 2,000, 2,200 pounds is the bid here at 2,002. 2.4 you're in. At 2,004. At 2,000, 2,004 is bid. Say 2.6 for one more. At 2,400 pounds with the online bid here at the minute. At 2,004. I'll take 2.5 if it helps you out. I shouldn't need to, but we will. At 2,004, say 2.5 if you're coming back in now. At 2,000, 2,004, are we finished and done then with the online bidder here at 2,004, 2.5's bid. At 2,005, say 2.6 for one more. At 2,000, 2,005. At 2,005, coming back in online. Would you like to go again? At 2,005 here, 1990 TVR at just £2,500 is the bid. At 2,525, are we finished and done then? Last chance in fair warning. We'll submit the bid to the vendor today at 2,005. We'll count you down once, twice. Finished and done then at £2,500, all finished and done. Provisionally with you at 2,005, 3030, provisional bid there, £2,500. Thank you. Moving on to lot 104. Ladies and gentlemen, the first one of the fast forwards in today is the 1985 Ford Escort RS Turbo. Stunning little car this is. Looks great indeed. We're going to go straight in at 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, £7,000. I start with me here on the book at 7. At 7,000. At 7,000's bid. At 7,008's in online with you. At 8,009 back to me at £9,000. At 9,000, 9,000, say 10 for one more if you're coming back in now. At £9,000 is bid. At 9,000, 9,000, we'll take 500s now. At £9,000, would you like the 9.5? At £9,000. At 9,000, 9,000, 9,000, coming back in for 5. Yes, you are. You're in online. 9, 5, and 10. My commission interest is out. At 10,005. At 10.5's bid online. At 10,005. On the Escort RS Turbo this time in a way at 10,500 with you online bidder at 10,005. Would you like to go 11? At 10,000, 10,005, we're bid at the minute with you in Leicestershire at 10,005. Say 11 if anyone wants to jump in. 11 you do. Thank you online bid at £11,000 is the bid with you now at £11,000. At 11,000, 11,000, up in Merseyside at the minute, at £11,000, coming back in for another 500 bid. Would you like to go again? At £11,000 is the bid, or anyone else here like to come in and have a go on this one at just £11,000 is bid. At 11,000, 11,000, are we finished and done? At 11,000, I'll tell you what, we'll go in quarters. Take the 250 if you want to come back now under bidder. At £11,000, the bid is against you. At 11,000, 11,000, are we finished and done here at just £11,000, coming back in for the quarter bite? Last chance in fair warning then online. We'll count you down at £11,000 if we're finished and done. At £11,000 online bidder at 11,000 once. At 11,000, 11,000 then twice. All finished and done this time in a way then with you online at £11,000. That is provisionally with you online at £11,000. Provisional there. And that was to bidder number 739. Thank you. Moving down the list, we go to lot number 105, lot number 105 in today's sale. Year 2000, Mercedes SLK, nice compressor this is. Where are we going to go on this one? Long MOT as well, till March 2027. Where are we going to go? Start me off there, no reserve today. I'm straight in at £500, five's bid. Say 600 next. At £500 is bid now with me on the book here. At £500, coming in for 6. At 500 bid. At £500 is the bid now at 5. Say 6 for one more if you wish to go again. Nice little compressor here. At 500 bids. 6 is bid with you online bidder in Southampton now. I'm going to have to go 7 and £800 with me at 800 here. Take 9 if you're coming back in now. 900, gentleman's bid. My commission interest is out. Gentleman on the floor at £900. At 900. Would you like to go 1,000 anywhere else? 1,000 online. Thank you, Southampton bidder. You're in now at £1,000. 11, 50. We got 50s on the system, haven't we? We'll go in. Thank you, sir. 1,050's bid. At 1,050, say 11 if you're coming back in now. We're in the £50 here. At 1,050, gentleman's bid. 1,100's bid. New bidder, your bid now. At £1,100. Would you like another 50, sir? 1150 you do. Thank you. £1,150 is bid. 1150 and 12. 1,200 back in. 50 again. Thank you, sir. At 1,250 bid. At 1,250 to bid now. 1,250. At £1,250. Would you like 13 anywhere else? Are we finished and done? 13 bid. At 1,300. Stay in the 50s for you, sir. At 1,350. Thank you. At 1,350's bid. At 1,350, would you like 14 now? At 1,350, are we finished and done? 14, we're not. At 1,400. At 1,400. At £1,400 is the bid now with the online bidder here. At £1,400, 50 again, thank you. At 1,450. At 1,450, make it 15 if you're coming back in online. At 1,450, make no mistake. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in fair warning. We'll count you down once. 15's in. At 1,500. At 1,500. Shakes the head on the floor. At 1,500 with the online bidder. Would anyone else like to have a go on this one? At 1,500, are we all finished? Are we all done? Hammers up, we sell once, twice. Finished and done then at £1,500 it goes. Sold at 1,500. Thank you. Online bidder there, 19584. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, when we say about the provisional bids, lot number 2 sold away. There we go. Lot number 2 is now sold. Moving on down the list we go. Lot number 106. Have a good look at this one. 1952 is the year. It's the Cycle Master. No reserve here. Look at this one. The Cycle Master. I don't know. Who's got £100 to start me off? Cycle Master here for £100. Anyone interested at £100 to go? Coming in for 100. How about £50 then? Your bid online. 50's bid. At £50 now. At 50's bid. Go 75 next. We're going 25s on this one. At £50, 75. Gentleman's bid at £75. On the telephone now with you, telephone bidder at £75. Say 100 if you're coming back in online. At 75. 100's bid now. Leamington bidder with you at £100. At 100's bid. 125. On the phone. Phone bidder back in. 125. 125's bid. At 125. Say 150 for one more online. At £125. We're on the phone at the minute. 150's in with the online bid. 175. Thank you on the phones for being fast today. At £175. Your bid at the minute. 200's bid. 25 back in. 225. Telephone bidder at £225 is the bid. At 225, just move it on one. At £225. Say 250 if you're coming back in online. The bid is against you. We're on the phones at the minute. At £225. Are we finished and done? 250's back in. At £250, 275, thank you. At 275 is the bid. 275 and 3. At £300, 25, thank you. Good battle here. At 325, would you like to go 350? At 325 is bid. At 325, are you finished and done online? You coming back in for one more? We're on the phones then right-handed with you on the telephone. At 325, the bid then once. At 325, the bid then twice. 350 just in time. At 350, 375, thank you. At 375 bid, telephone bidder again. At £375 is the bid now, 375. Would you like to go 4? At 375 is the bid here then once. Twice. Hammers up, make no mistake online. It sells away this time at £375 it goes. Telephone bid, 375. Thank you very much, sir. 375, telephone bidder. Thanking you. Moving on to lot number 107. We have this absolute beautiful 1928, the Panhard. And over to you, Lewis.
Thank you very much, Tom. Now, this big old beastie sat next to me is a 1928 Panhard Levassor X57, affectionately named Jezebel. Now, Panhard has quite an interesting history. Not many people probably would have heard of them now because when it comes to cars, they haven't been in production for a long time. Obviously, they started in the late 1800s, and when it came to the early 20th century, they really were a pioneer in the industry, especially with kind of more traditional cars as we think of it now, of a front engine, rear wheel drive layout. I mean, in what year was it? It was 25. Just had to check I was right on that. In 1925, they set the continuous speed record at 112 miles an hour, which we're going to be talking about cars later that are about 40, 50 years after that and still at a top speed only about 20 miles an hour higher. They really were ahead of their time, and this was no exception. The X57 was the definitive luxury car that Panhard made at the time. I mean, again, going inside and out of it, everything, when you look underneath, everything is made with such quality. And I always forget the sheer scale of it. And it's got that 3.2-litre sleeve valve inline-six engine, which, again, when it's running nicely, one of the big things that we found out from the Panhard Club is that it actually runs on two-stroke oil mixed into the fuel, which allows it to run much smoother, that lubrication. But when you're running it properly, this thing runs perfectly. I mean, the previous owner used to love to take it out to shows. It's got regular running recently. It had a fastidious restoration in 1979. There's plenty of pictures in the history folder. It's got that kind of patina and the paintwork that you'd expect of a car this age, and it fits very well. It wears it extraordinarily well. And again, overall, it's just not something you see. Every time I walk away and I come back to this car, I forget just how big it is, and it turns heads in a way that nothing else really can. It's such an absolutely joyful car, and I'm very curious to see what it'll do. But for that, we'll head back over to Tom.
There we go. On the Panhard straight away. I've got several commission bids, so I'm not going to mess around here. I'm straight in at 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7,500 we start, and I'd like to see 8,000 next if we can. At 7,500 on the book with me here. At £7,500 is the bid here at 7.5. At 7,005, at 7,500 commission interest here at 7,005. Say 8 if you want to come in anywhere else. 8,000 you do. Online bid, you're in. My commission interest is out now at £8,000. We'll take the quarters from this point. At £8,000 is bid. Would you like 250? At 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. At £8,000 is the bid now at 8,000. Can we make 250s on the bidding? At £8,000, would you like a quarter bid anywhere? At £8,000, the bid is with you currently online. At 8,000, 8,000. At £8,000 is the bid here online bidder. At £8,000, anyone for 250 now? Are we finishing done on the Panhard already? At £8,000. At 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. At £8,000 is the bid. Yep. At £8,000. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put it on sale and I'll take 100 if anyone wants to come in. Hammers in hand, and it's going to go today on the 1928 Panhard here. At 8,000, say 100 for one more. At £8,000 is bid with the online bid at the minute. At £8,000. At 8,000, 8,000. We'll count you down then online. We're selling with you once at £8,000. At 8,000, 8,000. Are we finishing done? We sell twice. Make no mistake here, it's going to go at 8,000, all finished and done. It goes this time in a way at £8,000. Sold online, £8,000. Thank you, online bidder. 14842, 14842. Sold away at £8,000. Moving down the list we go. Another one of the lovely Fords in today's sale. This one's a 1995. It's the Ford Escort RS2000 in the aubergine. No reserve. Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, you've got several bids online. I'm going to start it here with my commission interest at £800. At 800's bid, say 9 if you're coming in. At £800 is the bid with me at the minute. At £800, say 9 for one more. 9's in online. I've got £1,000 now. 1,011. My commission interest is out. We'll run online. 1,200. Jersey bidder 13. At 1,300, 14 in the room. At 1,400, gentleman's bid. On the floor now, 15's in online. At 1,500. Would you like 16, sir? 1,600. At 1,600, 1,600. Say 17 if you're coming back in. At £1,600 is the bid now at 16. 17. Thank you, online bidder. 18 bid. Gentleman's bid at £1,800. Say 19 if you wish to go again. 19 you do. Thank you, online. £2,000. Say 22 next if we can, Molly. At 2,000 is a gentleman's bid. At £2,000. At 2,001. At 2,2. 2,2. Gentleman's back in at 2,002. Just go 100. Now go 2,4 if they want to come back in. 2,4 if you're coming in online. At 2,002. 2,4. 2,6, sir. 26 is bid at 2006. At 2006, say 28 if you're coming back in now. At £2,600. Gentleman's bid here. 28's bid. Thank you. 3,000 bid. At £3,000. Gentleman's back in. At 3,000, go 2 if you're coming back in online. At 3,002. At 3,4. At 3,004's bid. At £3,400 now. 3,6 is back in. Thank you, Hampshire bidder. At 3,006. Would you like 3,8, sir? At 3,008, you do. At 3,008. At 3,008, it's going to sell today. Make no mistake online. At 3,008, are we finished and done here? At 3,000, £3,800. Last chance in fair warning then. I'll take 3,9 if you're nice and quick, but the hammer's up and selling to the gentleman on the floor once. 3,9. 4,000. 4 back in. At £4,000, say 1 for 1 more. At 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. Would anyone else like to come in now? At £4,000, are we finished and done? Last chance in fair warning. Hammer's up once. 4-1's bid. Jersey bidder now, 4-2 at 4,002. At 4,002. Underbidder, would you like to go 4-3? At £4,200, we're going to sell then at 4,200 once, twice, finishing done. Your bid already, sir, at £4,200. Sold, 4-2, 349, 349. Thank you very much. £4,200 sold your way. Moving on down the list we go to lot number 109. 109 here. Have a good look at this one, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 1987 Ford Sierra RS 500 Cosworth. Look at this. What a vehicle it is. And you're in straight away at £10,000 and £20,000. At £20,000. Should we say 5 next? 25 if you're coming in. It's little money here at just £20,000. Go 5 for 1 more. 25's bid. At 25,000, say 30. 30,000's bid. Stoke-on-Trent bidder and 35's back in. And £40,000. At 40,000, say 5 again. At 40,000, 40,000 here with the Stoke-on-Trent bidder at the minute. At £40,000, say 5 if you're coming in. At 40,000, 40,000. At 40,000, we'll go 2 then. We'll help you out online. Would you like £42,000? At 40,000's the bid. At 42. At 42, 44. At 44,000 now. 46 is bid. New bidder entirely at £46,000 the bid. At 46, 46, RS 500 Cosworth. Make no mistake when bidding today. At £46,000. Would you like to go 48 anywhere? At 46, 46. At £46,000 is the bid now at 46. Are we finished and done? We'll count it down then at £46,000. Make no mistake here. 48. Thank you. Stoke-on-Trent is back at £48,000. At 48,000 is bid. At 48, 48, would you like to round it up to 50 to come back in? At £48,000, are we finished and done? At 48,000, 50's bid. At 50 bid, now 50. Liverpool bidder, new bidder this time at £50,000. At 50,000, 50,000. I'll tell you what, we'll go 51 if you want to come back in online. At £50,000 is bid. We're in the thousands now online underbidders. There's a couple of you. Would anyone like to go 51? At 50,000, 50,000. 51 you do. Stoke-on-Trent, you're back in at £51,000. At 51, 51. At 51,000, say 52 for 1 more. At £51,000 is the bidding done and dusted here at 51,000. At 51, 51. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in fair warning then. Online bid here at £51,000 once. At 51, £51,000 then twice. All finished, all done. Last chance in fair warning there at £51,000. Well, that is provisionally online at £51,000. We will have to make a phone call, and that was 20447, £51,000. That is a provisional bid, and we will be in touch very shortly online. Moving down the list, we go to lot number 110. 1955 is the BSA Rocket, the Gold Star Tribute here. Where are we going to go on this one? I'm going to go straight in. I'm going to start with my commission interest at 2,000. I'll take 2.5 if I can. At 2,000's bid. 2.5's next. At £2,000. With my commission interest here on the book today. At 2,005. You're in online. At 2,005. Say 3 next for 1 more. My commission interest is out now at £2,000. At 2,005. Online bid at 2,005. At 2,000, 2,005. Say 3,000 for 1 more. I'll tell you what, we'll take the call to bid. Would you like a 750? At 2,005 is the bid at the minute. With the online bidder here at 2,005. At 2,750, bid. At 2,750, bid. Say 3 for one more. At £2,750, Merseyside bidder, you're in. At £2,750, the bid. At 2,750, are we finishing done? Would you like to take it to 3? At £2,750 is your last chance in fair warning this time and away then. We'll count you down online. At 2,750, the bid then once. At 2,750, the bid then twice. All finished, all done at 2,750. Your bid online, 2,750. 101.89 provisionally with you. Moving on to all the ones then, we go 1949. This time is the Riley RMA convertible. Nice looking Riley, this one. Great colour combination on it as well. And I'm straight in at £4,000. At £4,000 is bid. Say 4.5 next if you're coming in. At £4,000 is bid. 4.5 if you wish to bid. At 4,005, back to me at 5. £5,000 is here. At 5,000, 5,000. At £5,000 is the bid. 5.5. I'm out now. You're in online. At 5,005. At 5,005. Anyone for 6. At 5,000, 5,005. At 5,500 is the bid now at 5,005. I'll take the quarter if it helps anyone out, but the bid is here online with you at 5,005. At 5,500 is bid. At 5,000, 5,005. Are we finishing done then? This time and away. At 5,005 on the 1949 Riley RMA convertible. Once, twice, finishing done then. Your bid online at 5,500. Provisionally with you there at £5,500. And that is a provisional bid. Moving down the list, we go to lot number 112, 1962 MG Midget. It's the Mark 1 here. And where are we going to start me off on this one? £3,000 to start. Anyone interested at 3? How about £2,000? Won't go any lower. 2 to kick it off today. 2's bid online. Thank you. At £2,000. 2.5's bid. Take 3. At 2,005. At 2,000, 2,500 is bid. At 2,000, 2,005. Say 3 if you're coming in now. At £2,500 is the bid now at 2,005. I'll take 750 for one more. At £2,500. If you're coming in, then come in now. At 2,005. At 2,000, 2,500 is the bid then. At MG Midget, Mark 1 here. It looks charming indeed. At just £2,500, we'll count you down online. Once, twice. Finished and done then. Last chance in fair warning at 2,005. As 2,750, I'll take it. At 2,750 with the online bid. Kettering, you're in. Underbidder, would you like to come back in for 3? At 2,750 is the bid here. Kettering bidder now at 2,750. We'll count you down again online. Once, twice. Finishing done at £2,750. That's provisionally with you online at £2,750. Provisionally to 4,439. Thanking you. Provisional bid. Moving on we go. Another one of today's amazing no reserves. It is the 2000 Ford Puma, the 1.7 16 volt there. Look at that one. No reserve. Well maintained. Modern classic indeed. You don't see many of these on the roads. And I'm straight in. You're in at 5. I got £1,000. 1,000's bid. Say 1,200 next. We'll go in the 200s on this one. £1,000 on the Ford Puma here. At 1,000's bid. Say 1,200 if you're coming in online. At £1,000. Anyone else want to bid again? At 1,000's bid. 1,200. Gentleman's bid before you online, but I've got 14. At 1,400. Say 16 next. At 1,400, 1,400. At 14 and 16's bid, I've got 18. £1,800. 2,000 if you're coming in now. At 1,800, 1,800. Coming in for the 2. At £1,800. 2's bid. Gentleman's bid. At 2,000, I got 2,2. At 2,002. At 2,002 on the book with me. Here at £2,200 we're bid. At 2,002. Would anyone like to go 2,4? 2,3? 2,3's bid. 2,4's back to me though at 2,004. It's going to sell today at 2,004. Would anyone like 2,5? At 2,004 is bid. At 2,000, 2,400. My commission interest here, make no mistake, it's going to sell at £2,400. I'll take 2,500 if anyone else wishes to bid. At 2,400, 2,500, 2,600. 2,600 is back in. At 2,006. At 2,600 is the bid now at 2,006. At 2,006, take 2,700 if you wish to go again. At 2,600, are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in fair warning then. Hammers up. At 2,600 the bid with my commission interest here once. At 2,006 twice. Finishing done. I sell this time, and away it goes at £2,600. Sold at £2,600 to commission bidder 1,000. Thank you very much, commission bidder. That is yours. Moving on to lot number 114. Lot number 114. And over to you, Lewis, to tell us all about this MGA.
Thank you very much, Tom. Now, I did allude to earlier, I said that this car might be slightly familiar to any of those who've watched our previous auctions. This car had, in fact, come in before, but at that time, the one thing that let it down was its paintwork. So the owner has taken it back and he's made sure to get that crossed off. He's had it freshly resprayed, and I think it looks a million times better now that it's had a fresh coat of paint on. Because honestly, other than that, it was a great car. Obviously, 1959 MGA 1500 Roadster, and mechanically, it already had the full kind of works done to it. It's had an engine rebuild, it's had the rings done, bearings. It's also had a full engine service on it. This one was a US import from 2015, converted over to right-hand drive. All over, it's got solid panels. It's got a great history with it. Again, all those bits that I mentioned, there's the history folder is full of invoices and all sorts for that to warrant that through. And all in all, like I said, before it was a solid car that the paint just let down, and that's finally been ticked off. So the hard work's been done. It's now ready to go out the box. We're coming into summer, so it's time to get an MGA Roadster, something that you can actually take out and enjoy. And I think overall, at 11 to 13,000 pounds, 95,000 miles on the clock, MOT exempt, just simple, get in and enjoy. But again, we'll find out what the final result says. We'll hand back to you, Tom.
Very drivable and summer ready. Then we go straight in with my commission interest here. I'm looking at £5,500 and £6,000. We start at £6,000. At 6,000, 6,000, say 500 if you're coming in now. At £6,000 is the bid. 6.5, 7. 7's bid. At £7,000 now. At 7,000, 7,000, 7,000. One more. At £7,000 is the bid now at 7. At 7,005, you're in online, and I'm out now at £7,500 with our Leamington bidder here at 7,005. Say 8 if anyone wants to jump in. Lovely little MGA this is. At 7,005, at 7,000, 7,005, coming back in for 8. At 7,500 is the bid at the minute with the online bidder here. I'll take the quarters now. We'll say 7,750 if you wish to bid again. But at 7,005, the bid is here. At 7,500. At 7,500 is the bid now at 7,005. Are we finished and done then? Would anyone else like to come in for one more? At 7,005. At 7,000, 7,500, 7,750. Kettering bidders back. At 7,750, the bid is with you now at 7,750. Would you like to go 8? At 7,750 is bid. At 7,750, the bid then with you online. At 7,750, are you finished and done? Would anyone else like to come in for 8? At 7,750, the bid is here with you online, and £8,000. Leamington's back. At £8,000. At 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. Would anyone like a quarter again? At 8,000 is bid. At 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. Take 250 for one more. At £8,000 is the bid now at 8. Last chance in fair warning online. At £8,000, we'll count it down then. Make no mistake. At £8,000, the bid is here once. At 8,000, 8,000, then twice. All finished and done. Last chance in fair warning then at £8,000. That's provision. Was that a bid? Just press previous lot. Online bidder, pay 250 next. We haven't closed the sale yet. At £8,000, I think someone wanted to come in. Go 8,250. I've held it open for you online. I think you tried bidding on the end. If you'd like to come back in, thank you. 8,250's bid. At £8,250. We won't do that when the hammer goes down, but if the hammer's not down, I'm happy to do it. At 8,250 is your bid at the minute. At 8,250 is bid. Say 8,500 for one more if you're coming back in. At 8,250 is bid. At 8,250, 8,250. At £8,250 is the bid now at 8,250. I'm going to count it down again then online. At 8,250, the bid is not with you at the minute. Online bidder in Nottingham now. At 8,250 once. 8,500. Thank you very much for understanding online. Leamington, you're back. At 8,005. At 8,000, 8,005, say 750 for one more. At 8,005 is the bid now at 8,005. Say 750 if you wish to come back in online. At 8,500 is currently off to Leamington. At 8,005, say 750 again. Are we finished? Are we done? We'll count it down with you online bidder once at 8,005. Twice at 8,005. All finished, all done at £8,500. That is your bid online, £8,500. That is a provisional bidder there, 14842. Thanking you. Moving on to lot number 115, then we go to, is this 1960 Ariel Arrow? Look at that. Cool looking 1960s motorcycle. Nicely restored example. I'm straight in at £400. 5, was that online? 3. 4's my bid. At £400 here. At 400's bid. Say 5. 600's with me on the book here at £600. Say 7. 7's bid. At 700 now. Say 8 for one more. 800 here. Gentleman's bid at £800. Say 9 if you're coming back in. I've got 9 online. £1,000. Gentleman's bid at £1,000. At £1,000 is bid. At 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. Gentleman's bid here at £1,000, either online or anywhere else. At £1,000 is bid. Last chance in fair warning. We'll sell to the gentleman here at £1,000. We'll count it down. At 1,000, 11's back in. At 1,100. Would you like 12? At £1,100 is bid. 50? 11.50. Okay, nitty gritty time. And they're out over here, 11.50 online. Your turn for 12. If not, hammers up and I'm selling at 1,150. The bid then once, twice. Make no mistake online. If you're coming back, it's now or never. Your bid, sir. 11.50. 303. Thank you. Moving on to lot number 116. Have a good look at this one, ladies and gentlemen. 1994 Bentley Continental R. Look at it there. What a great colour indeed. I'm straight in at 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14,000. Say 15 next. 1994 Continental R here at £14,000. 15's bid. At 15,000, 15 and 16's back in. At £16,000. At 16,000, 16,000. Say 17 for one more. At 16,000 is bid. At 16,000, 16,000, 17's in online. My commission interest is out at £17,000 with the online bid. At 17,000, 17,000. Say 500 if anyone wants to come in now. At £17,000 currently online with you. At 17,000, 17,000. Anyone for another 5? At £17,000. At 17,000, can we have the 500 on the increments? At £17,000 is bid. Thank you. At 17,000, 17,000. Few of you waiting to come in online, or anyone else in the room like to have a go on this one. At £17,000, are we finished? Are we done? At 17,000, 17,000. At 17,000. Last chance in fair warning then, with the online bid at the minute, at £17,000. Once. At 17,000, 17,000. Twice. All finished, all done at £17,000. Make no mistake then, 17,000. Provisionally with you online at £17,000, and that was bidder number 3043, 17,000, and that is a provisional bid. Moving down the list, we go to lot number 117. Have a good look at this one, ladies and gentlemen. The Mini, the Italian job Mini, 1993. Good year that. You're in straight away. I'm going to go with your commission interest to in France. Welcome, bonjour, at £2,000. I got 2-2 at 2002. My bidder here at 2004, 2.6's bid. At 2006, 2.8, £3,000. 3.2's in, 3.4, 3.4 to me, 3.6. I'm going to have to go 3.8 and £4,000. Say 4.2 if you want to come back in. At 4,000 with my commission interest. At £4,000, bidder in France, you're out. Would you like to go again? At 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. At £4,000 is bid. 4,002 you do. Thank you very much. At 4,002, merci. At 4,002. At 4,000, 4,200 is the bid. Say 4.4 for one more if anyone else wishes to join in. At £4,200, the bid is with you online. At 4,002. At 4,000, 4,002. Say 4.4 if anyone else wishes to bid again. On the Mini here at 4,002. I'll tell you what, I'll take 4.3 if it helps you out. My commission is done. It's online currently at 4,002. Say 4.3 if anyone wishes to bid. At 4,002, are we finished and done then? Last chance in fair warning. 4.3. Welcome in Florida, United States at 4,003. International bidding. France bidder, would you like to go again? At 4,003. At 4,000, £4,300 is the bid now at 4,003. We're looking for you, France. At 4,003, are we finished and done? At 4,000, 4,003 is bid. Make no mistake. Last chance in fair warning then. At 4,003. 4.4. France is back. Welcome back. At £4,400 is the bid. At 4,004. At 4,000, 4,400. Say 4.5 if you want to come back in Florida. At 4,004. At 4,400, we're bid. Would you like to go again online? Make no mistake here. At 4,400, we'll count it down now then. At £4,400, once. At 4,400, twice. Finished and done then at £4,400. Make no mistake, at 4,004. That is online. We are provisional with you in France at 4,004, not a million miles off of that one. So I'm sure someone will be in touch. And when we say about being in touch and we sell it provisionally, this is what happens. We speak to the vendor, lot 109, sold away at £60,000 on the hammer there, 60,000 for that one. Moving down we go to lot number 118 is the 1973 Jaguar E-Type. I think it's the first one of the E-Types that we've got today. Where are we going to go on this one? Features a 5.0-litre Chevy engine on this one, USA import, lovely Type 3 series. We're going to go straight in. I've got interest here at 10, 11 and £12,000. At £12,000, has an E-Type ever been cheaper, ladies and gentlemen? At 12,000 we start, say 13 next. At 12,000, 13's bid, 14 back to me. At 14,000, 14,000, say 15 for one more, 15 you do. At 15 and 16's my bid. At 16,000 here with me, at £16,000 on one. At 16,000, need to see 17 for one more online. You coming back in on the book with me at 16 and 17, and I'm out now. You're in online at £17,000. Kettering bidder at the minute at 17,000. At 17,000, 17,000, 18. 18's bid on the telephones now at £18,000. Thank you, phone bidder. At 18,000, 18,000. At £18,000 is the bid. Would you like to go 19 online? You coming back in for one more? At 18,000, 18,000. Are you finished? Are you done? At £18,000 then. We're on the phones at £18,000. I'll tell you what, we'll go 500s now. Would you like 18.5 anywhere else? 18.5. They were waiting for it. At 18,005 is against you telephones. At 18,005, say 19 if you're coming back in. Thank you. Gets a nod at £19,000. At 19,000, 19,000. Great colour on this one as well. Just £19,000. 5. Kettering's back in at 19.5. At 19.5, 19.5. Would you like to go 20 on the phones? Shakes the head, done and dusted. At 19,005. Would anyone else like to come in for 20 now? At 19,005. We're online here at 19,005. Say 20 if anyone else wishes to come in. At 19,005. We'll count it down then at 19,500 with you currently in Kettering once. 20's in at £20,000. Somewhere in the United Kingdom is with you at £20,000. At 20,000, 20,000. At £20,000, Kettering bidder, would you like to go again? Yes, please, they say. 20,005 is your bid. Say 21 if you're coming back in now. At 20,500, the bid is here. At 20,005. At 20,500, say 21 for one more. Are we finished and done online? Would you like to go again? At 20,005. At 20,500, we'll count it down then. At 20,500 once. At 20,500 twice. All finished and done with you online at £20,500. That is provisional at £20,500. And that's 664. Thank you very much, online bidder. We will be in touch very shortly on that one. Moving on down the list, we go to lot number 119. One of my favorites in today's sale, 1966 Ford Mustang. Look at this one. The 289 V8 engine in this looks absolutely great here. I'm asking for £10,000 to start me off for a Mustang here. 10,000 to kick it off today, surely. 10,000 to start. You know what it is online. At 10, you're in. At 10,000, say 11 next. At £10,000. At 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, would you like 11 to come back in? At £10,000 is bid. 11 for one more. 11's bid. I'll take 12. £11,000. 12 if you're coming back in. 12 you do. At 12,000 and 13 bid. At 13,000, 13,000 here. At 13,000. I'll tell you what, we'll run in the 500s. 14's bid. Say 500 for one more if you're coming back in. Shouldn't need too long to think. Stallion bid in now at 14,500. At 14,005. Say 15 for one more. At 15 you do, thanking you. At £15,000. At 15,000, 15,500 to come back in. At 15,000, 15,000, 1966 Ford Mustang looks absolutely great there. At £15,000, would anyone else like another 500? At 15,000, 15,000, are we finished and done then? At £15,000, the bidding is here online. Make no mistake, say 500 if you're coming back in. At 15,000, 15,000. At £15,000 is bid. At 15,000, 15,000. The last chance in fair warning then. The bid is here online. Would anyone else like another 500? At £15,000, the bid then once. At £15,000, all finishing done then twice. And it goes online at £15,000. Leamington bidder with you. 14842. 15,000. That is a provisional bid, and we will be in touch shortly. Moving on to lot number 120. Lot number 120, another one of the lovely bikes in today's sale is the 1928. It's the Francis Barnett Super Sport number 9. What a cool looking bike this is. No reserve, must go today. I've got loads of bids on the book with me. I'm not going to mess around. I'm going to go 1,000, 11, 12. 1,200 bid. And say 13 if you want to come in at £1,200. At 1,200's bid here. At 1,200, 1,200. At £1,200 is the bid now at 12. Say 13 if you're coming back in. At 1,200, 13's bid. 14 back to me. At 1,400, 1,400. Would you like to go again for one more? At £1,400 now. At 1,400, 1,400. Walking away there. At 1,400, take 15 if anyone else wishes to bid. You do online. Thank you very much. Hampshire bidder at 1,500, but I've got 16. One more online might do it. At 1,600, 1,600. At 1,600, 1,600. Coming back in for the 17. At £1,600. Are you finished and done? Make no mistake. 17. There you go. You're in now online and I'm out. At 1,700. Anyone for 18? At 1,700, 1,700. It sells today with the online bidder here then. No reserve. It must go at just £1,700. Hammers up. At 1,700, 1,700. All finished and done. Last chance in fair warning. Once, twice. And I sell this time. And away it goes at £1,700. Sold at 17. Thank you very much. 1,700. 10433. Thanking you. Moving down the list we go. Look at this next one, ladies and gentlemen. 121, 1962, Sunbeam Alpine. And over to you, Lewis.
Thank you very much, Tom. And I'll get it correct this time. I promise. I know it's a Sunbeam Alpine. 1962 Series 2. And I've got to say, it is an absolute privilege to talk about this one because I think this is everything that I want to see when I'm buying a classic car. Not only has this been in the same family ownership since 1966, so you know it's been cared for. It was an owner's club car. It's very well known amongst those circles. It's been all across Europe. It's been to trips to the Arctic in Norway. It's been to Nürburgring. It's been to Silverstone. But also, this went through a fastidious restoration and bare metal respray in 1998. There's loads of documents with that. And again, looking around, again, I've been telling people that come to look at this car, open the bonnet, open the boot, have a look inside. It is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous throughout it. I mean, I was talking to the vendor when they dropped it by, and they said they had childhood memories of trying to squish into the passenger seat and into the kind of half back seats in this, which I must admit, looking at it, is rather ambitious, but I suppose when you're smaller, it's a little bit easier. But again, they've done an absolute superb job on the restoration. They've cared for it, loved it, looked after it for years and years and years, and it shows. And of course, famously, these were the first car that Bond drove. Sean Connery drove one in Dr. No, where he evaded hitmen in a pursuit, I believe it was. And again, not only that, as if that wasn't enough, put all that together, there is a mountain of spares and bits and pieces for this. You could practically build a second car with all the bits that come with this. It is everything that I'd want to see when I'm looking for a classic car, and it is gorgeous. But as always, I'll head back over to you, Tom.
And loads of commission interest. Locally, with me, in Wiltshire at the minute, online at 5,250. I'm going to go 5.5. 5, 7,000, about 6,000, 6,250, 6,5, 6,750, 7, 7,250, 7,5, 7,750, 8,000, 8,250, 8,5, and we're in the market straight away here. At £8,500 is going to sell today. Say 750 for one more. At 8,005 is bid. At £8,500 now is going to sell today. Hammers in the hand here. Make no mistake. Lovely little Sunbeam this is. At just 8,005. I'll tell you what, we'll take 8,600 if anyone wants to join in for £100 more. At 8,005 it's going to sell. At 8,000, 8,005. At 8,500, are we finished? Are we done? At £8,500, make no mistake. At 8,005. At 8,500 once. At 8,500 twice. It goes this time with my commission interest then. Make no mistake, at 8,006. 8,7. Back to me. At 8,007. At 8,700 is bid. Would you like 8,8, sir? at £8,700. At 8.7's bid. We're selling here then on the commission book with me at 8,700 once, twice. Finished and done. I sell this time then at £8,700 it goes. Sold at £8,700 to my commission bidder 3001. Thank you very much, online. Moving on to, or online, whoever left it. Moving on to lot number 122, a 1972, the Morris A60 van. Look at that one. Looks great indeed. Looks lovely here, just down to the left there. Look at the colouring on it in the two-tone there. I'm straight in at just £5,000. At 5's bid, say 5.5 next. Lovely little Morris this is at just £5,000. At 5,005, you're in online, and 6,000 back to me. At 6,000 here, at £6,000 bid. At 6,000, 6,000, 6,000. At £6,000 is the bid now at 6. At 6,000, 6,000, I'll take 250s if anyone wants to come in. 6,250. My interest is out. We're the gentleman at the back of the room, not you online. Gentleman at the back of the room at 6,250. Need to see 6.5 if you want to come in online. At 6,250, 6.5. Thank you, Leamington. 750s back in at the back at 6,750. Would you like to go 7 online? At 6,750. Gentleman's bid. 7 you do. Thank you. At £7,000. Quarter again at 7,250 at the back. Gentleman's bid. At 7,250. Say 7.5 if anyone else wishes to come in now. At 7,250 we are bid. At 7,250 the bid now, 7,250. Are we finishing done online? Would you like to go again for one more? At 7,250. We'll count it down then at 7,250. 7.5. 7.5 sneaking back in, and 750's back in. At £7,750. Surrey bidder, it's against you. Would you like to go 8? 8 you do. Thank you in Surrey. At £8,000. 250 again. At 8,250's bid. 8.5. At 8,005. 750's back in though. Gentleman's bid at 8,750. Say 9 if you're coming back in Surrey. At 8,750 and 9 you do. £9,000. 250 again. 9,250. Say 9.5 for one more. At 9,250, 9.5's in. At 9,005, Surrey bidders back. At 9,005. At 9,005. I'll tell you what, I'll take 9.6 if you want. Shakes the head. At 9,005. At £9,500. The bid is online. Would anyone else like to come in for 9.6? At 9,005. At 9,005. I heard a scream, but I didn't know where it come from. At £9,500 online bid at the minute. At 9,005. Are we finished and done? We're very close on this one. At 9,500. We'll count you down. At 9,500 with the Surrey bidder this time then once. At 9,500 twice. All finished, all done then at £9,500. Provisionally with you online at £9,500. That is a provisional bid. We're very close there at 9,005. I'm sure I will get you an answer back in the next half hour or so. Moving on to the next one, lots number 123. Have a good look here. The Hudson Hornet. What a cool looking car this is. A great piece of American history it is. And we're going to go straight in at 10, 11 and £12,000. At £12,000. With my commission interest here at £12,000. Say 13 if you wish to go again. At 12,000 is bid. At 12,000, 13 bid. At 13,000, my commission interest is out. I'll take the 500s now. At £13,000. At 13,000, 13,000. At £13,000 is the bid now at 13. Would anyone else like to come in for another 5? At £13,000 is bid. At 13,000, 13,000 on the Hudson Hornet here at £13,000. At 13,000, 13,000. Are we finished and done? Are we sure? At £13,000. At 13,000, 13,000. We'll count you down then online at 13,000 once. At 13,000 twice. All finished and done. 13.5. At 13.5. Last minute sting there at 13,005 on the Hornet. At 13.5. Say 14 if you're coming back in. At 13.5. At 13.5, 13.5 underbidder. Would you like to go again? At £13,500 is here. At 13.5 with you currently. At 13,500 online bid. I'll take the 250 now if you're nice and quick. At 13,005. At 13,500, are we finished? Are we done? At 13,500, we'll count it down then. It's currently online once at 13,005. Twice. All finished and done then. £13,500. Your bid online at £13,500. That is a provisional bidder to 12792. 12792. Thanking you. Lot number 124, another one of the lovely bikes in today, year 2005. Kawasaki is the EJ650 C7P. Where are we going to go on this one? Start me off. Who's got £1,000 for it? Nice little bike there for £1,000. Kick it off today. Nothing on my book on this one. Start me off for £1,000. Anyone interested? 500. Thank you online. 6, 7, 8, 9. Thousands bid. Would you go 11, sir? £1,100. Gentleman's bid at £1,100 bid. At 1100, say 12 if you're coming in now. Gentleman's bid seated at the front at £1,100 bid. At 1100, say 12 for anywhere else. At £1,100, I'll count you down online. Make no mistake, got to be fair to the gentleman who's coming at 1100 once. At 1100 twice. I'm going to take their bid online. I heard the ding. Would you like 13? 13. Would you like 14? At £1,300. At 1300. Nearly missed a bid then. At 1300. I'll tell you what, I'll take 50 if it helps you out, sir. 1350 for one more. You come this far. At 1300. 1350. 1350. Merseyside bidder. You're both out now, gentlemen. At £1,350 currently in Liverpool. I'll take 14 if anyone else wants to come back in. At 1350. At 1350. He might have this one in a minute. At 1350. Are we sure? Finished and done then. We'll count it down at 1350 once, twice. Finished and done. It goes with you. Online bidder at 1350. That is a provisional bid at 1350. 1350. Thank you very much. Online bidder 101. And that is 8910189. Thank you very much online. We will be back in touch shortly. Moving on to lot number 125. Nice little 2002 Range Rover Vogue. It's the TD6M. Let's not mess around with this. Got several commission bids. I'm straight in at 2, 2000, 2. I'll take 2.4 next. At 2002 is bid. Say 2.4 here. At 2002. At 2000, 2002. 2002 Range Rover. Looks lovely indeed. 2.4. 2.6 is back to me. At 2006. Say 2.8 if you want to come in. At 2,600, 2.8's bid. I am out now. You're in online at £2,800. Say 3,000 for one more. At 2,800, lovely range over here. Just 2,800 is the bid online. At 2,008, say 3 if anyone wishes to come in. Lots of people having a look around it. At 2,800, we are bid. At 2,000, 2008, would anyone like to come in for 3 now? Make no mistake here. At 2,800 is bid. At 2,828. At £2,800. Take 3 if anyone wants to come in. If not, once, twice, finished and done at just £2,800. Make no mistake at 2.8. That is your bid online at £2,800. Don't hold your breath on that one. We'll see what we can do for you. 3030. Thanking you. Moving down the list we go to lot number 126, 1931. It's the Humber Pullman limousine. Nice little limousine. This is there. Straight down there. Looks great again indeed. I'm going to start 5, 6, and 7,000. Say 500 next. At £7,000. Say 7.5 if you're coming in. At 7,000, 7,000, 7.5. At 7.5's bid online with you at 7,005. Say 8 for anywhere else. 8,000 if you're coming in. At 7,005 is bid. At 7,000, 7,500 with the online bidder here at 7,005. At 7.5, 7.5, 7.5. Would you like to go 8 anywhere else? At £7,500, the bid is online. At 7.5. At 7,500, 7.5. Are we finished and done then? At just 7,500. Not much interest here. At 7,005, take it to 8 if anyone else wishes to come in. At 7,500, I will submit the bid to the vendor today. At 7,500, once, twice. Finished and done then. Just 7,500. Your bid again online, £7,500. That is a provisional, and that is 3043. Thanking you. Moving down, we go to lot number 127. 1957. Francis Barnett. It's the Falcon this time here. Nice little Falcon. I got several commission bids. I'm going to go straight in at £400 bid. At 405. I've got 6, 7. I'm out and you're in. Gentleman's bid at £700. At 700, 700. At 700, 700. Suit you, sir. At £700. Coming in for 8. Gentleman's bid here at £700. I'll take 50 if anyone else wants to bid here. It must go today. At 700, 750's bid on the telephones. 850, sorry. 850. It was 800 here. 850 if you're coming in. 850. 900. At £900. At 900. Gentleman's bid. Shakes the head. On the phones are out. Would anyone else like another 50? At £900, are we finished and done? Last chance. Fair warning. It goes this time at £900. Make no mistake. Finished and done. 900. Yours. 303. Thank you. Moving on to the next one. We got one of them. There we go. Another little update for you, ladies and gentlemen. Lot number 122. Sold away at £9,500. And we're going to go down onto lot number 128. Another lovely Jaguar E-Type. And I can see you driving this, Lewis.
Well, thank you, Tom. I mean, if you're watching at home, don't adjust your TV screens. That is the right color. And it's a factory color. This was a car in heather over cerise. It was a limited kind of run color that they did through the 1970s. Wasn't too popular at the time. And honestly, I don't know why. Because I think, you know, you line up 3 E-Types next to each other. And what's the one that everyone's been drawn to? It's the pink Jag. It's just a statement, isn't it? But this one is also, as well as being in a lovely color, is a great example. It's been in long-term ownership since 2008. It was restored in the 1990s, and overall, it presents really well. There's a couple of little bits of weathering in that interior, but you'd really have to be looking with a magnifying glass to see it properly. And again, it's just, it makes me laugh every time because it's just such a joyous thing that turns, I mean, an E-Type turns heads to begin with, but this one really does. And it's one of a kind in a factory color. You look at it and think, no, that can't be right. And again, V12 manual gearbox in there as well, so it's actually a lovely driving experience. It's had recent work done on it as well. £2,800 spent having some work done on the cooling. And again, overall, a very, very different Jag, but it is as it's supposed to be. Matching numbers car, again, completely right. And I think overall something very different. So we'll see whether the market's better for the color now than it was in the 1970s. We'll head back to you, Tom.
Unmistakable, it says here. And unmistakable, I definitely reckon that is right. I'm going to go straight in at just 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15,000 pounds. And we can run in thousands for a bit if we can. At 15,000 pounds is bid. 16's bid. 17 back to me. Would you like 18? 19. I've got 20. I'll take 1 if you're coming back in. 21. Gentleman's bid, and I'm out. At 21,000 pounds. At 21,000 here. 22, you're in online. At 22,000 pounds is bid. 23, gentleman's bid. At 23,000 now. 24 is in online. At 24 with the online bidder here in Leamington now. At 24,000 pounds is bid. At 24. At 24,000 pounds is the bid now. At 24, would you like 25? At 24,000 is bid. At 24, I'll take 500s if it helps anyone out. At 24,000 pounds is the bid with you online. At 24,000, say 500, 24,500. Gentleman's back in. Gentleman's bid at 24,005. Next bid's 25 if you're coming back online. At 24,005 is bid. At 24,500. At 24,500 and 25,000 back to Leamington now. At 25,000 pounds, we'll stay in the 500s now. At 25 is bid. At 25,000. At 25. At 25,000 pounds is the bid now at 25. Would anyone else like to come in for one more? At 25,000 pounds is the bid here online. At 25. At 25. Would anyone like another 500? Are we finished and done? At 25,000 pounds, we'll count it down then. 25,500. Gentleman's back in. At 25,500. Make it 26 if you're coming back Leamington. At 25,500. At 25,500 is bid. At 25,500. At 25,500 is the bid now at 25,500. Finished and done then. Last chance in fair warning online. We'll count you down. At 25,500 is bid once. At 25,500 is bid then twice. Make no mistake. All finished. All done then at 25,500. Your bid, sir. 347. Thank you. 347. Provisionally with you at 25,500. Moving down the list, we go to lot number 129. Next one in today's sale is the 1972. It's the MG Midget. It's the round wheel arch example. Looks lovely in the green there. And I'm straight in at 1,000, 12, 14, 1,600 pounds. Say 18 next. At 1,600's bid. At 1,600. At £1,600 is the bid now. At 16, say 18 if you're coming in. 1,800 you do. 2,000 back to me. At £2,000. At 2,000, say 2,2 for one more. At 2,000 is the bid. At 2,002 you're in online and I'm out now. At 2,002, would anyone like 2,4? At 2,002. At 2,000, 2,200 is the bid now. At 2,002, coming back in for the 2,4. At 2,002 with the online bidder here. It's just £2,200 is bid. At 2,002. At 2,000, 2,200, are we finishing done then? Would you like to go in for one more? At £2,200, we'll count it down with the online bid. Make no mistake, at just 2,200 once. At 2,200 twice. All finished and done then at just 2,200. Make no mistake, at 2,002. Your bid online, we'll see what we can do for you at £2,200. That is a provisional with you, 395 provisionally. Moving on down, we go to lot number 130, 1988. It's the Austin Metro Vandenplas. Then we go. Look at this on there. Lovely, lovely little Metro this is. And I'm going to go ask for, I've got nothing on my book on this one. Would anyone start me off at £2,000 for the Vandenplas? 2,000 to go. Anyone interested to start it off today at just £2,000? How about £1,000 then? Won't go any lower. £1,000 to kick it off. Thousands bid. Thank you online. Norfolk bidder at £1,000. At £1,000's bid. And £1,000 is bid now at 1,000. At £1,000, I'll tell you what, we'll go in £200. Go 1,200 next if you want to come in. £1,000 here with the Norfolk bidder now. 1,000, 12, £1,200 with you, West Sussex. At 1,200, 1,200, 1,200. Your bid online at 1,200, say 14 if you're coming back in. At £1,200 is bid. At 1,200, 1,200, are we finishing done? At £1,200, the bid with you online at just £1,200 here. At 1,200, 1,200, 14's bid. Ladies bid at 1,400, say 16 if you're coming back in now. At 1,400, 1,400. Would anyone else like to bid 16? At 1,400, 1,400. At 1,400, are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in fair warning, online bidders. If you're coming back, now's your chance. At 1,400 once. At 1,400 twice. All finished and done at just £1,400. Ladies bid with you provisionally 390. Thank you very much. 390, 1,400 provisional. Moving down we go to lot number 131 in today's sale. 2001's the year. It's this lovely Porsche Boxster S manual there. Nice one in green. We're going to go straight in. I'm going to go 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, £4,000 we start with my commission interest here at £4,000 for the Porsche Boxster. At £4,000 is bid. Say 4.5 next. At 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. Anyone for the 5? At 4,005 you do. At 4,005's bid. With you online at £4,500. At 4,000, 4,005. We'll take the quarter bites if it brings anyone in now. At 4,500, my commission interest is cleared. At 4,005, say 750 for one more. At 4,750 you do. Welcome to you in Lanarkshire. At 4,750 is bid. At 4,750, 4,750. At 4,750, would anyone like to go 5? At 4,750 is bid. At 4,750, take it to 5 if you're coming in now. Are we finished and done? At £4,750, the bid is here once with you online. At £4,750 twice. All finished, all done then at £4,750. With you online bidder in Lanarkshire there at £4,750. That is a provisional bid to 3,177. Thanking you online. Moving on we go. Another no reserve car in today's sale. Lot number 132, 1997. Mazda MX6, no reserve. Look at this. Nice little Mazda this is then. Who's got £500 to start me off on the Mazda today? 500 to go. Kick it off here. £500 surely. Have a good look. Nice little Mazda this is. £500. Kick it off today. Anyone interested at 500? How about £250? Grab yourself a bargain. 250 to kick it off. 250's in. We'll run in 50s on this one for a minute. At £250 is bid. Say 300 if anyone wants to come in. 3's bid. Ladies bid at £300. We're bid 300. At 300's bid. At 300, 350's back in now. At 350's bid. At 350, 350 with you in Norfolk. At 350, say 4 if anyone wants to jump in now. At 350 is bid. At 350, 350, 350 with the Norfolk bidder now. At 350, I'll take 4 if anyone's coming in. Cheap little car here. Back in now. Ladies bid at 4. £400. Thanking you. At 400, 400. Make it 50 if you're coming back in online. At £400 is the bid here at 4. Say 50 for one more. Are we finished and done at just £400? Make no mistake. Last chance in fair warning. Hammers up this time, and we sell today. Make no mistake. Once, twice, finished and done at £400. Sold. 390 is that on your paddle? Was it 390? Yeah, thank you. 390. Moving on down the list, we go to lot number 133, 1999 BMW Z3. It's the 1.9 Roadster. Have a good look there. Looks lovely indeed. Flincher bidder, you're in at 2. I've got 2.2 at 2002. At 2004, 2.6 is bid. 2008, 3,000 to me. At 3,000, 3.2. 3.4's bid. At 3,004, 3.6 is in online. At 3,008, back to me now. 3,008 and 4's bid with the online bidder. I've got 4.2. 4.2's bid. At 4,002, 4.4's in online, and I'm out. At 4,004, take 4.6 from anyone else now. At 4,004. At 4,000, 4,400 is bid. Would anyone like to come in here? Lovely little 1.9 Roadster this is at just 4,004. At 4,000, 4,004. I'll tell you what, I'll take 4.5 if anyone else wishes to join in. At 4,004. Yeah? At 4,004. I see that, and that's the first time I've seen that. At £4,400 is bid. I'm going to sell at 4,004. Make no mistake. Say 4.5 if you're coming in. At 4,400, once, twice, finished and done. It sells this time, and away it goes off to Flincher at 4,400, finished and done. Sold at 4,004. Moving on down the list, we go to lot number 134, another one of the 1946 Francis Barnett's. It's the power bike this time there, 98cc on this one. Who's got £100 to start me off? Gentleman's bid. 100's bid. £100 now. 200's bid. At £200. 300's bid. At £300 is bid. 300 here. Just knock it on a bit. There we go. 300's bid. 4's bid. 400 now. We'll take 500 if anyone else wants to come in on this one. At £400. Gentleman's bid here at 4. At 400 bid. 5. 500's back in. 550. At 550's bid. At 550. Thanking you. At 550's a bid now. 550. At 550, 550, 550. Would anyone else like 600? If not, it goes to the gentleman here. At £550 once. At £550 twice. Finishing done at 550. 303. Thank you. Moving on to lot number 135, 1993, Ford Escort RS Cosworth, and over to you, Lewis.
Thank you very much, Tom. I'm right here with this 1993 Ford Escort RS Cosworth, and this is the one that started it. This is the original big turbo. Now, obviously, the reason that they switched over to the later little turbo was to reduce turbo lag, but one of the optimum things with the earlier ones is that you could get much higher horsepower out of it if you wanted to give it a little bit of fettling. And that's what's happened here. This has had a full nut and bolt restoration to arguably a very high standard, but it's also had quite a lot of upgrades for it. I mean, going through here, it's had upgraded brakes, suspension, cooling, and a new exhaust put on it, but it's also had a 330 brake horsepower chip on it. This thing will go like stink. It looks absolutely great. Again, it's not completely one for the purists. It's not completely original, but again, you open up that bonnet, it's been very nicely detailed inside. You can see a lot of money and a lot of work has gone into this car to make what is overall a very nice driving experience for one of these. Again, inside you got the Recaro seats, black seats with the orange stitching, just looks the business. And this one, it's had an RS specialist service in 2025. It's had the cam belt done, which you obviously want to hear. And again, these early big turbo cars with that Garrett T, what was it? It was a T204B. You can get so much more out of them if you just want to put a little bit of effort in. And they're a lot harder to come by than the little turbos that you see a lot of. So I'd be very curious to see what happens with this in the end, because I think it is a very appealing car. Just really gets into that kind of 90s vibe of when these were modified and hooning down the streets at speeds that we legally do not endorse. But anyway, to find out what it's worth, I'll head back to you, Tom.
Well, the bidding's been going off. We started at just 10,000 and it's already gone up to 19. I've got 20 and I'll see 21 next. At £20,000 is bid here with me at 20. At 20,000, say 1. At 20,000, 20,000's bid. We're starting now at £20,000 in one if you're coming in. We'll go in the thousands here. At £20,000, would you like 21 anywhere? At £20,000, the bidding's online at the minute at £20,000. At 20,000, 20,000, 21. At 21's bid. At 21,000 now, say 22 if you're coming in. At 21,000 is the bid now at 21. 22's back in online. At 22,000, say 3. At 23's back in on the telephones now at 23,000. At £23,000 is the bid now at 23. It looks great in the white here. 1993 RS Cosworth Escort then. At £22,000, say 3 if you're coming in. At 22,000, would you like 3? 23 coming in. 23's bid. At 23,000 on the telephones now. At £23,000 is bid. At 23 online bidder, would you like to go 24? At 23,000, 24 you do. At 24's back online. 25. At 25,000 now. At 25,000 is bid. At 25, say 26 for one more if you're coming back in. At £25,000 here. At 26 is bid. At 26,000 now. Would you like to see 27? 27 you do. At 27,000 now. At 27,000 here. Escort RS Cosworth at £27,000. At 27,000. At 27, would you like to see 28 anywhere now? At 27 and 28's bid. New bidder this time. Welcome to you. At 28,000, your bid online. At 28,000, 29. At 29's bid. At £29,000. At 29, take it to 30 if you wish to go again. At 29,000 is the bid. At 29,000. At 29 and 30,000 now online. At 30,000, back to our original bidder. At 30,001, telephones in at 31. At 31,000, say 32. At 31,000 on the telephone now at £31,000. At 31 and 32, internet bidder. At £32,000 with you, Merseyside. At 32, 33. At 33, telephones back in at 33,000 now. Say 34 for one more. At 33. At £33,000 is the bid. Would anyone like to come in now for 34? 34 online says yes, please. At £34,000. At 34,000. 35, telephones back at 35. Good battle here at just £35,000 is bid. At 35. At 35, anyone for 36? 36 online's in. At 36,000 now. 37, telephone straight away there at £37,000. At 37. At 37,000 is the bid now at 37. Would you like to go 38? At 37, you do. Thank you online. At 38,000's bid. At 38,000 now. 39. Back in now at 39. At 39, say 40 for one more. At 39,000 is the bid now at 39. Are we finishing done? We're on the phones currently at £39,000. At 39. At 39,000 with the telephone bidder at the minute. At 39,000, I'll take 40 if you're coming in anywhere else. Are we finished? Are we done? At just £39,000. At 39. At 39,000 is bid then. With the telephone bidder now, we'll count you down then. At 39,000, all finished and done. On the phones at 39 once. At £39,000 twice. All finished, all done at just £39,000 with you and on the telephone at 39. Provisionally telephone bidder with you at £39,000. That is a provisional bid. And ladies and gentlemen, how the provisional bidding system works, we make a phone call to the vendor. Lot number 131. Now sold away at £4,750. Thanking you to whoever left that bid. It's now yours. Moving on to lot number 136, 1965, Sunbeam Alpine Series 5. Lovely one. There we go again. I absolutely love this one with a nice little red 65 on it as well. And I'm going to go straight in at just 2,000 we start. Two's bid. Say 2 next if you're coming in. At £2,000. At 2,000, 2,000's bid. At 2,000 on the Sunbeam here at just 2,002. At 2,002, 2,004. At 2,004, say 26 for one more. At 2,004's bid. At 2,006, you're in online and I'm out. At 2,006, say 28 if you wish to come in now. At 2,006 is bid. At 2,008, gentleman's bid there. Thank you, sir. At 2,008, we got 28 on the floor now. At 2,008 and 3, new bidder, Norfolk, at £3,000. Would you like 3-2, sir? 3-2, gentleman's bid against you in Norfolk at 3,002 with the gentleman here at 3,002. At 3,000, 3,200 is bid. Would you like to go 3-4 for one more? At 3,200 is the bid now. At 3,002. Are we finishing done? You coming back in? At 3,200 with a gentleman here then. At 3,200, we'll count you down 3-4 just in time. New bidder again. At 3,400. 3-6. At 3,006. There's two of you now online. Which one's coming in? At 3,006. We're with the gentleman here at 3,006. At 3,000, 3,600. Are we finishing done then? Last chance in fair warning. This time and away it goes. At 3,600. We'll count it down then online. At 3,600 once. At 3,600 twice. All finished. All done then at £3,600. It's your bid, gentlemen, at 3,006. 355. Thank you. 355. That is a provisional bid at £3,600. Provisional. Moving down the list, we go to the last of the three E-Types, I believe, and it's the 1969 Series 2. There we go. In the signal red as well. Looks great again. You're in straight away at 10. I've got 15 and £20,000 we start. I'll take 22 if they want it. At £20,000. At 20,000, 20,000. At 20,000's bid, say 2 if you're coming in. At £20,000 is the bid now at 20. 22 you do. At 22, 24. My interest is out now. It's all online here. At 24,000, say 26 if you're going to go again. At 24,000 is bid. 26, thank you online. At 26,000, say 28 for one more. 28 you do indeed. At 28,000, would you like to round it up to 30 for me underbidder? At 28,000 is bid. At 28, 28. I'll tell you what, go 29 if you're nice and quick. Shouldn't need long to think here. At just 28,000, the bid is online. At 28, 29. Thank you for coming back in underbidder. At 29 is your bid now. At 29, 29 and 30's bid. At £30,000, say 1 again. At 30,000's bid. At 30,000, 30,000. Would you like to go 31? At 30,000 is the bid now at 30,000. Currently with you in Leamington at £30,000. At 30,000, 30,000, anyone for one more? At 30,000, are we finished? Are we done? On the E-Type here and away. With you then. Online. Once. Twice. Finished and done then at £30,000. And one just in, just nearly missed out. Locally with you in Hampshire. You could have come along today and had a good look. At 31 is your bid. At 31 and 32. At 32,000, you're always welcome, by the way. At £32,000 is bid. At 32, 32. At £32,000, it's currently back to Leamington, though. At £32,000 is bid. Would you like to go 33? At 32,000 is the bid now at 32. At 32, 32. Are we finishing done then? On the E-Type this time and away then. At £32,000, it goes once. At 32,000, 32,000 twice. All finished and done then at £32,000. That's your bid online at £32,000 provisionally with you in Hans, and that is to bidder number 14842. Thank you. Moving on down the list, we go to lot number 138, 1947. It's the Triumph Roadster. It looks great, this little Roadster there. Where are we going to go on this one? I'm straight in at just £3,000. We start. Three's bid. At 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. At £3,000 is bid. What are you in at? 4. 4,000. I'm going to go 4-5 and I'll take 5 next. At 4,000, 5 and 5. You're in online and I'm out. At £5,000, thank you. At 5,000, 5,000. Anyone else for 5-5? At 5,000 is bid. At 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. Say 5-2 if you're coming in now then. At £5,000, we'll take the 200s. At 5,000's bid. At 5,000, 5,000, would anyone like to come and have a go? 5-2 you do. Thank you online. You're back in now at 5,002. Say 5-4 if you wish to go again. 5-4, thanking you again at 5,004. At 5,000, 5,400 is the bid. Would you like to go 5-6? At 5,004. At 5,006. At 5,000, 5,600's bid. Would you like to go 5-8 to come in now? At 5,006 is the bid. Lovely little Triumph Roadster here at just 5,006. At 5,000, 5,600, would anyone like to come in now? At 5,600, are we all finished and done? 5-8, we're not. 5,008. At 5,000, 5,800 is the bid. With you in Leamington now at 5,008. At 5,000, 5,800 bid. And 6,000 now. At 6,000, 6-2's back in. At 6,002. At 6,000, 6,200 is the bid now at 6,002. We're online currently with you at £6,200. Would anyone like to go 6-4? At 6,000, 6,200 pounds is the bid now at 6,002. Are we finishing done? We're currently with you online in Leamington at 6,002. I'll tell you what, I'll take 6-3 if it helps. At 6,002. At 6,000, 6,200. With the online bid here then at 6,200, we'll count it down at 6,200, the bid then once. At 6,000, 6,200, the bid then twice. And I sell, so make no mistake, it's going to go at 6,200, all finished and done. Sold at 6,200. Thank you for the hard work on the phones there. £6,200, 148.42, sold your way. There we go. Moving down, lot 139, the year 2000 XK. I love these again. No reserve car today. No reserve. XK8 Coupe. I'm going to go straight in at... I'll tell you what, someone start me off at £500. Five's bid. I've got 6. Will you go 7? 700. I'm out. You're in already at £700. Gentleman's bid. At £700 is bid. Say 800 if anyone wants to come in. Nice XK8 here. Lovely little cars these are. Bidding. 800 phone bidders in. 900. Gentleman's bid. At £900. At 900, 900, 900. You coming back in on the phones. It's against you. £1,000. Telephone bidder. 11's back in. Gentleman's bid here at £1,100. At 1,100, 1,100. 12's in. At £1,200 bid. Phone bidder at 12. 13. Gentleman's back in at 13. 14. 1,400 back to the phones. 15. 1,500. Gentleman's bid here at 15. At 1,500, 1,500. 1,600 bid. 17. Thank you for the fast bid, sir. 1,700. At 1,700, 1,700. 1,800's back in 19 straight away at £1,900. Would you like 2 on the phones? At 1,900's bid. At 1,900. Shakes the head. They're walking away already. At 1,900, I'll take 2,000 from anyone else now. Or online, would you like to come in? Gentleman's bid here at 1,900, 1,900. Hammers up for the first time on this one then. At 1,900 once. At 1,900 twice. All finished and done. And it goes at £1,900. 1,900, 349, thank you, 349, 1,900, sold, sold, sold. Moving on down we go to lot number 140, 1994 Jaguar XJS, the 4-litre manual this one is. I'm going to go straight in with your bids online at £3,000. We'll say 3.5 next. We'll run in 500s on this one. It's with you in Scotland at £3,000. Say 3.5 if you're coming in. At 3,000's bid. Online at 3.5. At 3,005. Would you like to go 4? At 3,000, 3,005. Lovely XJS this is, the 4-litre edition. At 3,500 is bid. Say 4 if you're coming in now. At 3,005. At 3,000, 3,005. Take it to 4 if you wish to go again. At 3,500 coming in for 4. 4's bid. At 4,000, say 5. At 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. At £4,000 is the bid now at 4. At 4,005. At 4,000, 4,005. Take it to 5 if you wish to go again online. At 4,500 is bid. At 4,000, 4,005. At £4,500 is the bid now at 4,005. And 5,000's bid. At £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. Would you like to go 5 again? At 5,005. You're in online. At 5,005. Would you like 6? At 5,005. At 5,000, 5,005. Are we finished and done here? At 5,500. I'll count it down then. It's currently online at 5,005. I'll tell you what, we'll take the quarter bite if they're nice and quick. Would you like the 250? At 5,500. The bid is here online once, twice. Finished and done then. Online bid has it at £5,500. All finished and done. That is provisionally with you online at £5,500. That is a provisional bid, 3030. Moving down we go to lot number 141, 1973. It's the Triumph TR6 there. Look at this one. Nice TR6 this is. I'm straight in at 5, 5.5, 6. £6,500 we start. At 6,005. Say 7 if you're coming in here. A lovely little Triumph now. At 6,005. At 6,000, 6,000, 6,500 is bid. Would you like to go 7? At 6,005. At 6,000, 6,500 is the bid now at 6,005. Coming in for the 7 anywhere else. At 6,500 is bid. 7,000's in online. At 7,000, 7,000 I'm out. You're in online bidder at £7,000. At 7,000, 7,000 anyone for another 5. At £7,000 is bid. At 7,000, 7,000 this is a cheap little TR6 here at just £7,000. At 7,000, 7,000, 7,000 coming in for the 5. At 7,000, are we finishing done? The bid is here online at £7,000. Make no mistake, last chance in fair warning this time and away then. With the online bid it goes at £7,000. Coming in for 5 now. Once, twice, finishing done with the online bidder here at £7,000. Provisionally with you online at £7,000. That is a provisional bid there at £7,000. And next one, lot 142. I love the colour on this one. The Peugeot 304 Cabriolet, and over to you, Lewis.
Thank you very much, Tom. Now, you said earlier you could see me in the pink E-Type, and as appealing as that is, if I had to pick one that was going to drive home in, I think it would be this. I mean, I don't know whether it's the yellow colour or just because it's a cheerful little Peugeot, but I'm already happier once I've started talking about it, and this is an absolutely beautiful example. So this is a bit special. Obviously, you'll look at the estimate and you'll see it's a little higher than you'd normally see for a 304, but there's perfectly good reason for that. This was hand-built by a Bentley restorer and specialist using 4 donor cars, and the quality of the work inside is phenomenal. Again, you can look at every single panel on this. It has been no expense spared, completely done by a professional who was brilliant at his craft. And again, it was his kind of personal pet project. He didn't do it as something that was going to make money or something that he thought was a project, you know, to spin around. This was his baby, his project. He mentioned to the club, because the big difference with this is in there is a Saxo VTS engine and gearbox. Again, it's not completely for the purist, but in terms of something that looks absolutely gorgeous, that will do the part in terms of a classic car that's cheerful to drive, but you could get in it, and if you wanted to drive to the south of France and make the most of that soft top, you could, and it would get you there, no questions asked whatsoever. It's absolutely lovely to drive, and I think it's that perfect balance of having something that looks the part, fits the kind of image, but doesn't actually give you many headaches when no one's watching, and that's where the true value for this car is. I mean, again, these cars are also famous. Colombo had one. They actually had to export it over to the US so that he could have one, because they didn't sell them over there. And honestly, the Americans, you missed out. You missed out, because these are absolutely gorgeous. But we shall see what this one-of-a-kind one's worth, and I'll head back to you, Tom.
Well, as far as cars to be driven in the south of France to a vineyard, I don't think you get much better than this one. We're straight in online at £5,000. With you online bidder, I got 5,500 and £6,000. At £6,000 is bid. At 6,000, 6,000, 6,000, would you like to come back in for one more online? At £6,000 is bid. At 6,000, 7's bid with you. At 7,000, that's my interest out. I'll take 500s now with the online bidder at £7,000. East Sussex bidder at 7,000, 7,000, 7,000. Lovely little 304 here at just £7,000. Look how great it looks and what a bargain it will be at 7,005. At 7,000, 7,005, would you like to go 8? At 7,005 with the online bid here at 7,005 and £8,000. At 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. At £8,000 is bid. At 8,000, 8,000, 8,000 and 5. At 8,500 is the bid now at 8,005 and 9. At £9,000, find another like this, ladies and gentlemen, at just £9,000. At 9,000, 9,000, 9,005. At 9,500 is the bid now at 9,005 and 10's bid with you. East Sussex bidder, you're in at the minute at £10,000. Say 5 for one more. At 10,000 is bid. At 10,005. At 10,500, 10,500, 10,500, would you like to go 11 now? At 10,500 for the cute little classic here. At just 10,005 and 11's bid. At £11,000. At 11,000, 11,000, East Sussex bidder's back. At £11,000, the bid is yours at the minute. At just £11,000. At 11,000, 11,000. I'll tell you what, we'll take 250s now. We'll go in the quarter bites. It's currently with you at £11,000. At 11,000, 11,000, would anyone like a 250? At 11,000 is bid. At 11,000, 11,000, 11,000. Are we finished and done here at just £11,000? Make no mistake. Last chance in fair warning then. The bid is here with you. East Sussex bidder at £11,000. We'll count it down then once. At £11,000, the bid then twice. All finished, all done then at £11,000 then, 11,000. provisionally with you online, £11,000. Thank you very much for all your bids there. We will be in touch with you very shortly. We're pretty close to that one. I'm pretty sure we'll get our results back pretty quickly there. 11,000, your bid online. That is a provisional bid, 14544. Moving down, we go to lot number 143 then, 2006. It's the SMT Trike. The Trike, not just one seat, not two, but 3 seats, ladies and gentlemen. Well, look at this for a cool, quirky vehicle indeed. I don't know. Who's got £5,000 to start me off? Something a little bit special here. £5,000 to start me off here on the Trike. How about 3,000? £3,000 to start me off. Three's bid. Thank you online. We'll go in 500s if we will, Molly. At 3,000's bid. Say 3,500 if you're coming in. On the Trike here at £3,000. I mean, if you've got a couple of grandkids or something like that, what a great bit of fun this would be. At 3,005 you're in. Scotland knows so. At 3,005. At 3,005, say 4 for one more. At 4 you do. Thanking you online. At £4,000, say 4,500 if you're coming back in now. At 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. What a great bit of fun this would be. At £4,000. At 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. Say 500 if you're coming back in now. At 4,500's bid. At 4,005. At 4,005 if you want to come back in. At 4,005. At 4,000, 4,000, 4,500 is bid. Say 5 if you're coming back in now online. At 5,000 you do. At £5,000. Would you like another 5? At 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. Are we finished and done then? At just £5,000, say 500 if you're coming back in now, Scotland. At 5,000, 5,000. All finished, all done. Last chance. Fair warning. Once, twice, finished and done at 5,000 then online. We'll submit the bid there at £5,000. We'll see what we can do. It's 5,23030. Thank you. Moving on to lot 144. This time we go to 1970. It's a Volkswagen Type 2 there. Nice little Type 2 UK market, right-hand drive as well. Where are we going to start me off? Anyone got a couple of £1,000 for this? Nice little project there to get it going. 2,000 to start me off. 2,000 bid. Thank you online. Is that 1,000? We'll take it, whatever it is. 1,000's bid. At £1,000 with you online. Norfolk bidder there at £1,000. We're going 250s. Go in the quarter bites. If anyone wants to come in, we'll go 1250 next. 1,000 starting online. 1,000's bid. At £1,000. 1250. Thank you online. Cheshire bidder at 1250. Say 15 for one more. At 1,250 is the bid now. 1,250. At 1,250. Would anyone like to come in for 1,500? At 1,250 is bid. At 1,250, 1,250, coming in 15, one more. At 1,250, you finished and done. Last chance in fair warning. I will submit the bid today. 1,500's bid. 1,750 straight back in. At 1,750, 1,750. Would you like to go 2? At 1,750 is the bid now at 1,750. Coming back in for the 2 if you do. 2 you do. Thanking you at £2,000. Leamington bidder, you're back at £2,000. At 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. At £2,000. I'll go 2-1. Run in the hundreds, but make it nice and quick online if you wish to bid. At £2,000. At 2,000, 2,000 the bid, then 2,000's here online with you once. At £2,000 twice. All finished and done then. Make no mistake, at £2,000 finished and done. That's your bid online at £2,000. That is a provisional bid, and that is to 14842. Moving over to the next page, lot number 145, 1971 Rover, sold. Ladies and gentlemen, the three-stage sale process, sometimes when we get the cars in, they sell prior to the auction, and that was a great example of that one there. Sold away prior to the auction for £7,000, I believe, on the hammer. There we go. Moving on to lot number 146, 1994 Ducati Monster, the 900 Sabotage, to be offered with no reserve today. Where are we going to go? We're going to go 100, 200, 200. I'll take 50 to 50, 300's bid. At £300 now. Ducati Monster here at £300 is bid. At 300, 300. Would anyone like 4? At £300, 4's bid. Gentleman's bid. Couldn't help yourself, sir. At 400 a bid. It is a Monster. At 400, 5's in online. At 500, 6. Gentleman's bid at £600 now. At 600, 600, 600. 7's in on the telephones at £700 bid. At 700, 700. Would you like 8? 800. Gentleman's back in now. At £800 is bid. Online or on the telephones. We look for you. Would you like 9? At 800, 800, 800. 9 telephone bidders in. Shakes the head on the floor. At 900, 900. Online, would you like 1,000? We're on the telephones at the minute. Must go today. No reserve. Make no mistake. At 900's bid. I'll tell you what, I'll take 50 from either one, online or you, sir. Would you like another 50? He sabotaged the bid in 950. 950's bid. At 950's bid. Oh, we might have done it, sir. Shaking the heads on the phone. At £950 online. Would you like to go one more? Make it now or never. I sell to the gentleman once, twice. Finished and done. It's going to go. You sure? They're hung up. Yours, sir. Thank you very much. 950. Yours. So 950. And your paddle number 351. 351. Moving down we go. I was upside down. It's all right. I can see that. No worries. Moving on to lot number 147, 2005 Mini Cooper. It's the S Cabriolet. There we go. We're going to go straight in. You're in at 5. I've got 1,000. Can I say 1250 next, Molly? 1,000's bid for the 250 if you're coming in. 1,000's bid. And £1,000 here. 250 if anyone wishes to bid. 1250. I've got 1,500, but I'll do you the favor. Would you go 1,600? 1,600. You're in, and I'm out. My commission interest is done. We're at 1,600. Ladies bid on the floor. Say 17 if anyone else wants to bid. At 1,600, 1,600. Anyone for 17 now? At 1,600, 1,600. Online bidders, would you like to come in? 17. Wiltshire bidder. At 1,700, would you like 18? At 1,700, 1,700. 18 bid. Ladies bid back in at £1,800. Say 19 if you're coming back. Must be sold today, so make no mistake. Wiltshire bidder, would you like to go again? At 1,800, 1,800. Are we finished? Are we done? At £1,800 it goes. Once at 1,800, twice. Finished and done then at £1,800 and selling. 1,800, 344. Thank you very much. 344. Your bid there. 1,800 sold. Moving down we go to lot number 148. Lot number 148. I absolutely love this one, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good look here. 2008 is the year. It's the A6 S-Line TDI Quattro as well. There you go. Lots of gizmos on this one. Lots of gadgets come with it there. And we're going to go straight in at £2,000. We start at 2,000's bid. Say 2-2 next. At £2,000 is bid here on the Quattro then at £2,000. A6 S-Line then at just 2,000 bids. Starting off 2-2s in. At 2002, 2004 back to me. At 2004, 2-6 next for one more. 2-6 at the back of the room. I see you, sir. I've got 2-8. Would you go 3? 2-9. I'm going to have to go 3,000. 3,000 with me. Would you go 3-2 to take me out? 3-2, you're in. Thank you. At 3,002. Gentleman's bid. Say 3-3 next. At 3,002. At 3,200 at the back of the room, then at 3,002. See 3-3 if anyone's coming in. At 3,002. At 3,000, 3,200 are we finishing done then? Gentleman's bid here. At 3,200, we'll count it down. Once, twice. Finishing done then at 3,200. All sure and done. Your bid provisionally, sir. Thank you. All the frees. 333, 3,200. That is a provisional bid. Moving down the list we go. Lot number 149. Lot number 149, the Rover Metro. And I believe I'm over to Lewis on this one.
Thank you, Tom. I'm just hiding here underneath you. We've got our little mezzanine roof here with a car that I think could almost fit perfectly on that little scale X-Trick track behind me. This Rover Metro SI is actually a great example and a car I think is quite often slept on. You don't see many of these SIs, and you definitely don't see many like this. It's only done 32,000 miles. It's had 3 owners from new, and it was waxed underneath very early in its life. We've been told it's always been garaged. And again, walking up and down it, and if Charlie wants to come through and just have a look at that interior, it is in almost looking like new kind of condition. I mean, you got those very retro seats in there, but again, it's just, you don't see cars like this being preserved. It makes you wonder sometimes where people hide these, because I don't think at the time it would have been something that someone thought to put away. But I'm very, very glad they did. I mean, it's got the 1.4 K series engine in there. It's got the bolt-through design, which made it nice and small, a compact package. So you could get a very small car. It's very sprightly, very fun to handle. It's got the factory sunroof, and it is very much back to basics kind of driving. A little car, very much in the kind of spirit, much later on, of course, to the Mini that stood next to me. And again, strong history of this, a great file, loads to back up that it's been well looked after over the years. £5,000 to £6,000 for a car with an MOT until July that has been fastidiously looked after. I think it'll be very at home in someone's garage. You can put it on your drive and take it out to drives if you want, but I think the garage is the place where it wants to go because it's where it's always been. But again, we'll find out the final result. I'll hand back over to you, Tom.
Thank you very much, Lewis. There we go. The 1993, the Rover Metro then. We're straight in. I got 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, 1,600. We start. At 1,600, say 18 if you're coming in. At 1,600, 1,600's bid with me on the book. 1,800, 2,000 back to me. At £2,000. At 2,000, 2,000, say 2,2 for one more. At £2,000 is the bid now at 2. At 2,000, 2,000, 2,2. You're in online and I'm out. At £2,000. At 2,002. At 2,000, 2,002. Anyone for 2,4. At 2,200 is the bid now at 2,002. At 2,000, 2,200, we're bid at 2,002. Say 2,4 if you're coming in. At 2,200, the bid is here online. Make no mistake. At 2,002. At 2,000, 2,200 here at 2,002. Are we finishing done with you online? At 2,002, say 2,4 if you wish to come in. At 2,200, are we sure? Are we done? Are we dusted? At 2,002, say 2,4 for one more. We'll count you down then. Online bid has it. 2,4, gentleman's bid. Thank you, sir. At 2,004, you're out online. At 2,004's bid. At 2,000, 2,400 pounds is the bid now at 2,004. Online bidder, would you like to go to 6? At 2,000, 2,004 is bid. At 2,400, I'll take 1 if you are coming in nice and quick. Would you like 2,5? If not, it goes once at 2,400 pounds, twice. All finished, all done then at 2,400 pounds with you, sir, at 2,4. That's provisionally with you, sir, at 2004. What's your paddle number there? 345. Thank you. 345, 2,400. Provisional bid. Moving on to lot number 150. Look at this one, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely 1969. It's the Lotus Elan, the S4, the black badge there. Lovely one this is. I'm going to go straight in. 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7,000 pounds. I start with me at 7,000 on the lovely little Lotus here at just 7,000 pounds. Say 7.5 if you're coming in. 7.5 you do online. 8,000 back to me at 8,000 pounds. At 8,000, 8,000 bid on the Lotus here at 8,000 pounds. Say 5 for one more if you're coming back in. At 8,000, 8.5, 8.5. I've got 9, but one more might do it online at 9,000 pounds. At 9,000, 9,000, 9,000. Say 500 for one more. At 9,000 pounds is bid with me on the book here at 9,000 pounds the bid. At 9,000, 9,000, 9,000. Say 500 if you're coming back in. At 9,000 pounds. At 9,000, 9,000, 9,000. At 9,000 pounds, are we finished and done then? Last chance in fair warning here. At 9,000 pounds. 9.5, you're in online and I'm out. At 9,005. At 9,000, 9,005. Anyone for 10? 10 you do. At 10,000 with you in Bicester. At 10,000, we'll stay in the 500s though. 2 of you bidding online at the minute. At 10,000 pounds. At 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Would you like to come back for one more online? 10.5 you do. Leamington's back now at 10,005. Say 11 if you wish to go again. At 10,005. At 10,000, 10,500 is bid. At 10,005 and 11. 11,000 pounds with the Bicester bidder now at 11,000 pounds bid. At 11,000, 11,000, 11,000. Would you like 500 for one more? At 11,000 is bid. At 11,000, 11,000. I'll tell you what, we're going the quarters. Would you like to come back in for the 250? Make it nice and easy for you online at home. At 11,000 bid. Or anyone else want to come in for another 250 here? At 11,000 pounds. Are we finishing done then? Online, we'll count you down. It's currently in Bicester at the minute. At 11,000 pounds bid. At 11,000, 11,000 the bid then once. At 11,000 pounds the bid then twice. All finishing done at just 11,000 pounds. Make no mistake, finishing done at 11,000 pounds. That's provisionally online with you at £11,000. Thank you very much there in Bicester. We're very close on that one. That's 204.65. Your way at £11,000 provisionally. Nice little update for you, ladies and gentlemen. Lot number 142 sold away at 12,000. There we go. Moving on down we go. Lot number 151, 1999 BMW Z3. It's the wide boy here. Then a nice little wide boy. Where are we going to go on this one? I'm straight in at £2,500. We start at 2005. At 2005 is bid. Say 3 if you're coming in. At 2005 is bid. At 2,000, 2,500. Lovely little wide boy BMW this is at just 2005. At 25 is bid. At 2,000, 2,500 is the bid now at 2005. Say 750 then if you want the quarter bite. At 2005, coming in for the small one. At 2,000, 2005. At 2,750 you do online. At 3,000 now, my bidders are out. At £3,000. Online bidding has it in a minute. At £3,000, say 250 if you wish to go on. At £3,000 is the bid now at 3. At 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. Are we finished and done? Would you like 250, 250? You do. Welcome to you in St. Ives, Cambridgeshire. I was there last Monday. At 3,250, the bid is yours. At 3,250. 3,500. At 3,005. At 3,000, 3,005. Would you like 750 for one more? At 3,005 is bid. At 3,000, 3,005. At 3,500, I'll take 3,600 if you're nice and quick, but make no mistake, 3,750. 3,750's bid. At 3,750, 3,850. At 3,850, just make it 3,900 quickly. We'll get a nice round number, and then we'll jump it back up to the hundreds. I'll take the 50 if you want to come back in online, but it's at 3,850, 3,900. Say 4,000 next. There we go. Back on track. At 3,009. 4,000's bid. Thank you online. At 4,000, say 1. At 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. Would you like another 100 online? At £4,000 is the bid at the minute. At 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in fair warning. If you're coming back in for one more online, at £4,000, the bid is here once. At 4,000, 4,001. At 4,100, we're bidding 4,2 straight back in. Stoke-on-Trent, new bidder this time on this one. At 4,002, the bidding's with you, 4,300. At 4,003, keep going online. Don't miss out here at 4,003. At 4,000, 4,003, we're bid. Would you like to go again for one more? At 4,300, are you finished and done? At 4,000, 4,003. At 4,300, we're bid. Would you like to go 4,400? At 4,300, all finished and done then. Last chance in fair warning. We'll count it down. At £4,300 is the bid then once. At £4,300, the bid then twice. This time with you online at £4,300. That is very close online. 4,300. We are provisional on that one at 4,300. I'm sure we'll get an answer back to you very shortly at 4,300 provisionally with you. Moving on to lot number 152, 1963 Triumph TR3B. There we go, very rare right-hand drive TR3B. Looks great in the blue there at the center of the room, and we're going to go straight in at £5,000 at 5's bid. Say 5,500 if you're coming in. At £5,000, we start with me here at £5,000, 5,500, and £6,000 bid. At 6,000's bid. At £6,000 now, say 6,500 for one more. At 6,000, 6,000, 6,000. At £6,000 is the bid now at 6. Would you like to go 6,500? Lovely little Triumph this is, the TR3B at just £6,000. At 6,000, 6,005. Online, you're in and I'm out. At 6,005. I'll take the 250 now if anyone else wants to come in. At 6,005. At 6,500, anyone for 6,750. At 6,005. At 6,005, could we just drop the increment one? At 6,005. Say 750, one more. I'll take, go on. At 6,750, it's okay. At 6,750, if you're coming in. At 6,005, the bidding is here online. At 6,005. At 6,000, 6,500. We finished and done then. We will submit the bid today. At 6,500, make no mistake. Once, twice. Finished and done then. Last chance in fair warning then at £6,500. Provisionally with you online, 6,500 to 430. Moving down the list we go to lot number 153, 1973. It's the Jaguar XJ6 SWB there. Look at this, 1970s luxury saloon. Luxury it was indeed. Have you got £2,000 there? You haven't. 2,000 we asked to start then. £2,000 to come in. Anyone interested here? Start me off today. £2,000. Thank you online. You're in. At £2,000 is bid. At £2,000, £2,000. At 2,000, we'll say 2,200 next. At £2,000 is bid. At 2,000, 2,200. At 2,002, we'll stay in the 200s for you online. At 2,002, say 2,400 if you're coming back in now. At 2,004, with you now at 2,004. Shropshire bidder there. At 2,400 is the bid. At 2,400, 2,400, 2,400. Anyone for 2,600 now. At £2,400 is the bid and 2,600 is back in. At 2,006 with the Liverpool bidder now at 2,006. At 2,600 is bid. At 2,000, 2,006. Say 2,800 if you're coming back in for one more online. At 2,006, are we finished? Are we done? At 2,000, 2,006. At 2,600, the bid. At 2,600, we'll count you down online. I need to see 2,800 next if you're coming back in. At 2,600, the bid then once. 2,800's bid. Thank you there. Lancashire bidder, you're in at 2,008. At 2008's bid, would you like to go 3 under bidder in Liverpool? Coming back for one more. At 2008, the bid is here online. At £2,800, the bid with you online bidder at 2008, then once. At 2,800, the bid then twice. All finishing done at £2,800. Make no mistake at 28. That's your bid online at £2,800. That is provisionally with you, bidder number 17165. Moving down the list we go to lot number 154, 2000s a year, Mercedes-Benz this time. There we go. It's the E55 AMG. Lovely little Mercedes. This one is. Where are we going to go? Start the bidding off for me. Anyone interested today at £5,000 to start? 5,000 to come in, surely. 5,000 to kick it off. I'm going to go with my low interest. Oh, we got 5. Thank you online. That saves my awful commission bid. At 5,000, we start with you there. South Lanarkshire now at £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. At £5,000 is the bid. We'll go in 500, shall we? 5,500 if you're coming in. At £5,000. At 5,000 bid. At £5,000 the bid now. At 5,000, would anyone like to go 5,500? Gentlemen seated. Thank you, sir. At 5,005 with you now. 6 if you're coming back in. At 5,005. At 5,000, 5,500. Lovely little Mercedes here at just 5,005. Would you like to go 6 online? 6 you do. South Lanarkshire's back at £6,000. Would you like another 500, sir? At £6,000, the bid is online. At 6,000, 6,000, 6,000. At £6,000 is bid. I'll take 250 if it helps you out. Would you like another one? At £6,000, the bid is here. Say 250 if you're coming back in. 6,250. Thank you, sir. At 6,250, we're bid. Gentleman's bid. At 6,250, 6,500 straight away back in online. At 6,005. At 6,000, 6,005 is bid. We're online here. South Lanarkshire bidder at 6,005. At 6,000, 6,005. Would you like 6,750 to come back in? At 6,005, are we finished and done? We're online. Make no mistake. Bid is here. 6,750. Gentleman's back in. Thank you, sir. At 6,750, we're bid. At 6,750. Online, would you like to go 7? At 6,750, the bid then once. Twice. 7. 7's back in. At 7,000 with the online bid. At 7,000, 7,000, 7,000, say 250 again. At £7,000. Lovely little Mercedes here. Great colour as well. At 7,000 bid. At 7,000, 7,000. Anyone else for another 250 now? The bid's online. We will submit today, so make no mistake. At 7,000, 7,000, 7,000. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in fair warning this time and away then. Got to be fair to the online bidder here. At £7,000, the bid is online. Once. At 7,000, 7,000 twice. All finished and done with the online bid. It goes at £7,000. Your bid online at £7,000. £7,000. That is provisionally with you. 20401. Thanking you. Next one, lot 155, 1998 Porsche Boxster there. Low mileage example. Lovely little Porsche this is. I'm straight in at 2000, 22, 24, 26. At 2006, we start with me. At 2006, say 28 next. Lovely little Porsche here at just 2006. At 2006 is bid. At 2000, 2006 and 28s with you, and I got 3. At 3,000 here with me. At £3,000 is the bid now at 3. Say 3,2 for one more. At 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. Coming back in for the 2. At £3,000 is the bid now at 3. At 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. Are we finished and done online? Would you like to go again at just £3,000 for the Boxster? At 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in fair warning this time and away then. At 3,000 on the book with me once, twice. Finished and done at £3,000. My commission interest at £3,000 to 395. £3,000, 395. Commission interest provisionally. Moving on to lot number 156, the LD100 LS, and Lewis is going to tell you all about it.
Thank you very much, Tom. Now, this is a very interesting car, Audi 100 LS. Now, the 100 is arguably the car that is responsible for the fact that Audi is as big as it was today. Because when it was in development, it was actually secretly in development because VW just acquired also Union, which was the forerunner to Audi. And it was secretly developed. VW's original plan was actually to kill the brand. But this was released and it sold extraordinarily well. They sold over 800,000 units. And as such, VW had a slight reconsideration of their prior assessment of Audi. And then they kept going from there. You know, it's not too long a span. Only a decade later, they're heading towards the Quattro and really kind of leading the world in this category. But this is where it started, and this is arguably one of the best models that it started with, the LS. I mean, look at that interior that you're seeing in front of you now. Absolutely gorgeous throughout. Again, you've got a lovely wood dash, the red vinyl inside. This one, it's believed to have had 3 owners. It's not been used very much. It's been very well preserved, and I think that reflects very well going up and down it. Again, these are rare cars to see in right-hand drive. Never mind an LS, never mind one that looks like this. It's got its original book pack. It's been maintained regularly. Manual gearbox, again, light little 4-cylinder engine in there. Front-wheel drive as well. When this was originally being developed, the original plan was to, very similar to how all the VW cars were, have the engine in the back. But they decided to push forward with the front engine, front-wheel drive layout that, you know, now it'd be much more familiar for standard cars. But at the time was still somewhat forward-thinking. And again, imported from Malta in 2017, very luckily, a dry environment, great place to put a car, but also compared to most other places with that kind of climate, they actually drive on the correct side of the road. Striking red interior, white and black. That is just, for me, a color combination that is perfect. If I have a white car, red interior, black roof, domino on the outside, perfectly gorgeously red on the inside, 9 to 11,000 miles. It's got 40,000 miles showing on it. And overall, a very, very neat car with a good bit of history. And I love what it stands for and what it represents compared to what Audi is now. But we will find out who's going to take it home. We will head over to you, Tom.
It's definitely a very pretty car, and a few people have bidding away straight away. We started at 4. It's gone 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. My commission interest is out. It's gone 6.5, £7,000 currently with the online bid here at £7,000. Say 500 if you're coming in. At 7,000 bid. At £7,000 is the bid now at 7 with you currently there in West Sussex at the minute at 7,000's bid. At 7,000, 7,000, 7,000. We'll take the quarter if it helps you out. Would anyone like? No need. 7.5. Thank you. We'll take the quarter now though at 7.5. Leamington bidder here at 7,005. Say 750 if you're coming in. At 7,005 is the bid. At 7,000, 7,005. At 7,500 is the bid now at 7,005. Would you like the call to bite for one more? At 7,500 we are bid. Make no mistake. Are we finishing done? At 7,005. At 7,000, 7,500. Lovely little car this is at just £7,500. Make no mistake. At 7,005. At 7,000, 7,500, we're going to count it down then online. The bidder we're at 7,005 in Leamington currently at £7,500. The bid then once. At 7,000, 7,500, the bid then twice. All finishing done at 7,500. Make no mistake, all finishing done at 7,500. Your bid online at £7,500. Provisionally with you, 14842. Provisional with you online. Thank you very much. Moving on to lot number 157, 1994. Love this one here. It's the Chevrolet Corvette. It's the C4 there. What a great looking Corvette this is. I'm going to go straight in with my commission interest here. 2, 2, 2, 2, 4, 2, 6, 2, 8, £3,000. Say 3, 2 if you're coming in. At £3,000. Lovely little Corvette here at just 3,000 bid. At 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. Say 200 for one more. At £3,000 is the bid now at 3. 3, 2, you're in online. At 3,002, Warwickshire bidder. 3, 4 back to me. At 3,004. At 3,000, 3,400 is the bid. Say 3, 6 if you're coming back in. At 3,004. At 3,006, my interest is out. Warwickshire, you are in at 3,006. At 3,600 is the bid on the Corvette here at 3,006. Say 3,800 if you wish to go again. At 3,000, 3,006. At 3,600 is the bid. Would anyone like to go 3,800? Are we finishing done at just 3,600? We will submit the bid to the vendor today, so make no mistake. At 3,006. At 3,000, 3,600 the bid then with you, Warwickshire. At 3,600 once. At 3,600 twice. Finishing done 3,800. New bidder this time. With you at 3,008, locally here somewhere in Hampshire at 3,008. At 3,800's bid. Warwickshire bidder, would you like to take it to 4? Lovely Corvette, don't miss out at 3,008. At 3,000, 3,800 is the bid now at 3,008. Are we finishing done then? We'll count it down. It's currently off to Hampshire then at 3,800 the bid then once. At 3,000, 3,800, Warwickshire, would you like to go again? Twice. All finishing done then. The bid is here online at 3,800, finishing done at 3,800. provisionally online with you at £3,800. That is a provisional bid there to 20463. Thanking you. Moving on. Lot number 158. Lot number 158. 2007 Audi TT is the 3.2 Quattro. Love these indeed. Great little fun cars these are. I'm straight in at 222, 24, 26 is bid. At 2006, say 28 if you're coming in. At 2006. 28's bid. 3 back to me though. At 3,000 here. At £3,000, say 3-2 if you wish to bid again. At 3,000, 3,000 bid. At 3,002, you're in. At 3,002, I'm out now online. You're in. At 3,002. At 3,002's bid. Say 3-4 if you wish to go again. Lovely little TT here at just 3,002. At 3,000, 3,200 is the bid. At 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. At 3,200, are we finished and done? It's online here at 3,002. Would you anyone like to go 3-4? At 3,200 the bid, then we'll count it down with you online. At 3,200 the bid, then once. At 3,000, 3,200 the bid, then twice. All finishing done at just 3,200 on the 3.2 Quattro. Provisionally. Thought that would have done a little bit more on that one. 3,200, that is a provisional bid, and that is to 428, 428. Thank you. Moving on to lot number 159 this time. 1994 Rover Mini. There we go. Nice little charming Mini this is. Looks great there indeed. I'm going to go straight in at £2,000 bid. At £2,000 bid. Say 2-2 if you're coming in. Lovely little Mini this one is. At £2,000. At 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. Say 2-2 if you're coming back in for one more. At 2,000's bid. 2-2. 2-4's bid. 2-6 now. At 2006. With my commission interest here at 2006. At 2,600 is the bid now at 2006. Say 2-8 if you're coming in. At 2,600 is the bid now at 2006. Are we finishing done then? Last chance in fair warning then at just 2,600 once, twice. Finishing done then at 2006 and 2008. 3,000's back to me though online. You need to go again for one more at £3,000. At 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. Would you like to go 2 again? At just 3,000's bid. At 3,000, 3,000. 3-2, you're in now online. My commission interest is out at 3,002. Say 3-4 again. At 3-4's bid. At 3,004. At 3-4, 3-4, 3-4. At 3,004's bid. At 3,004. Say 3-6 if you're coming back in online. At £3,400 is the bid now at 3,004. Are we finished and done? Last chance in fair warning then. At 3,400 once, twice. Finishing done at £3,400. Provisionally at 3,004. 430 provisional there. £3,400 provisional. Moving on to lot number 160 in today's sale. Lot number 160, 1995. Have a good look here. The Renault 5, the Campus Primer. There we go. They've brought the Renault 5 back in the electric version, but an old school classic like this one. What a great car here. Who's got £500 for the Renault 5? £500 to start me off today. For the classic Renault 5, £500 to go. How about £250 then? £250 to start me off. Seems reasonable to me. Let's get it gone. £250, surely. £250, you're in. Shropshire bidder. You know a bargain when you see one. We'll go 3 next. At 250's bid. We'll run in £50 at 250's bid online. At £250 with you, Shropshire bidder now. At 250 is bid. At 250, 250, 250. Anyone else for free? Make no mistake, no reserve. It must go. It's in the market. At £250, the hammer's up. At 250, 250, 250. Finished and done. Last chance in fair warning. It's going to go this time in a way at 250. Once, twice. Finished done. Selling now at 250. Sold at 250. Thank you very much. 250. There we go. 1, 2, 111. Takes that one at £250. Moving on down the list we go. Oh, we'll get some updates done, shall we? Got loads coming in now, ladies and gentlemen. They are working super hard in the office today. Lot number 150, sold away at 11,000. Lot number 153, sold away at 3,600. Lot number 154, sold away at £7,500. Thank you to all who left those bids. They are now converted to sales. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we do at Manor Park Classics. Moving on to lot number 161, 2006 Lexus RX 400 there. Nice little one again. No reserve today. Who's got £500 for this? This is a bargain. £500 to kick me off there. Nice looking Lexus there. £500 to start. How about 250 then? Won't go any lower. Surely 250 is where it's got to be. Thank you online. You're in at 250. We'll go in the 50s again, but bid them up and bid them in for me online if you will. At £250 is bid. 300. Thanking you. Dorset bidder now. At 300, 300. Would you like to go 50? Ladies bid. I see you before you online. At 350's bid. At 350 is the ladies bid down there. Just press that one. There we go. 4's back in online. at £400 with the Dorset bidder. 450, ladies bid at £450. At 450, 450, 450. Would you like to come back in for 5 now, Dorset? At 455's bid at £500 with the Dorset bidder. At 500, 500. Would you like 50 again? 550, thanking you. At £550 we're bid. At 550, 550. Take it to 6 now if you wish to go again online. At £550 we're down front then at 550. Anyone else for 6? It's your last chance in fair warning. Hammers up once, hammers up twice. 6. Thank you, sir. £600. Not you online either. At 650. 650's bid. Would you like 7? At 650. 7's bid. At £700 is bid now at 7 and 50 bid back in. £800. Thank you, sir. £800 is bid. Say 50 for one more. Gentleman's bid. 850. Ladies bid now at 850. 9. Thanking you at £900. At 900, 900, 900. Would you like to go 50 again for one more? At £900 is bid. 950 back in. £1,000. Thank you, sir. Straight away, 1,000 bid. At £1,000. We'll stay in the 50s. At £1,000 is bid. At £1,000. Bid here. £1,000. We're on the floor. 1,100, even better. At £1,100. Would you go 12, sir? £1,100. Shakes head. Ladies bid online. Make it nice and quick if you're coming in. We go once, we go twice. We sell away this time at £1,100. Ladies bid 1,100. Sold. 390. Thank you. Moving on down we go. Lot number 162. Lot number 162. Another one of the campers is the T25 or the T3 here. Look at this one in the two-tone there. Looks great indeed. 5-speed manual gearbox on this one as well. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? No reserve again. Who's got £500 here for the camper to kick it off today? £500. Everyone should have their hands up for this. £500 to start me off, surely. 250 then, if you will. 250 for a camper. 500, even better online. 500 your bid. You can come again. At 5's bid. 600, will you? At £500 is the bid now at 5. At 500, 500, 500. Opening it up here in Shropshire. Your bid at the minute of 500. I'll take 6 if anyone wants to come in. At £500. No reserve. It must be sold today. Make no mistake. At 500, I'm going to sell. At 500, 500, 500. Are we finished? Are we done? We'll count you down then. Online bidder in Shropshire. Grabbing the bargain of the day at £500 once. 6 is back in. Thank you. New bidder now. Bristol bidder with you at £600 bid. At 600, 600, 600. At £600, take 7 if you wish to go again. With the Bristol bidder at the minute at £600 bid. 700 now. Shropshire, you're back in at £700. At 700, 700, 700. At £700, Bristol bidder, would you like to go 8? At £700 is the bid. At 700, 700. I'll take 50 if you're nice and quick, but we're going to count it down. At £700 is the bid. I'll take 50 now once, twice. 50's bid. Thank you, Bristol. You're back. At £750 is the bid now at 750. Shropshire, would you like 8? At 750, we're bid now at 750. We'll count it down then with the online bidder this time and away. Your bid online once, twice, finished and done. I'm going to go at £750, all finished and done. Sold it your way, Bristol. Thank you. At £750, and that is 7671. Sold, sold, sold. Lot number 163, 1997. The BMW, the M3. The M3. And I'm going to go over to Lewis because this is one absolute great machine, and Lewis is going to tell you all about it.
Thank you very much, Tom. I'll give you a bit of a wave because I'm a bit far out outside, right at the front, because this one was one of the ones that came in a bit last minute. It was one of the last ones to go up on the website, so we took it out to do a little bit of socials out into the New Forest, get people aware of it. And I took it out for the drive, and they're not really my thing, I'll be honest. I've never been too big into my BMWs, but this one very much surprised me. It was absolutely lovely to drive. Got an E36 M3. It's got the 3.2 Evo engine, so it's got the variable cams and exhaust manifold, and it is honestly in very nice spec. I mean, in terms of a BMW color, how does Esterol blue sound? It sounds brilliant because this is the color that you want for this. This one, it's done 109,000 miles. And again, looks in very good condition for that mileage. It's got a great service history, loads of stamps in the book, invoices, MOTs provided with it. And it was genuinely a surprisingly nice drive when I took it out. And not my cup of tea, and yet it's still something that could have tempted me in on the day. Again, a modern classic, the E36s, the reputation speaks for itself. I think overall, great desirable cars, 18 to 20,000 pounds, and an MOT until May. I think a great buy. But again, I'll head back over to you, Tom. We'll see what's next.
There we go. Let's go on this one. I've got several bids on the book with me. I'm going to go straight in at 10, 10.5, 11, 11.5, £12,000 we start. We'll say 12.5 next. At £12,000 is the bid now at 12. At 12,000, 12,005 and 13,000 back in. At 13,000, 13,000. At 13,000's bid, say 5 for one more if you're coming in now. At 13,000, £13,000. At 13,000's the bid. At 13,000, 13,000, say 500 if you're coming in now. At £13,000, the M3. At 13,000 bid. At 13,000, 13,000. At £13,000 is the bid now at 13. At 13,000, 13,000, say 500 for one more if you're coming in. At £13,000 is the bid now at 13. Are we finishing done then at just 13, 13.5? My commission interest is out now. At 13,005, you're in online. At 13.5. At 13,500, say 14 for one more. Fun little car this is at just 13,005. At 13.5, 13.5, anyone for 14 now. At 13,005, are we finishing done then at just 13,005? Make no mistake. At 13,005. At 13,500, the bid is with you online at 13,005. At 13.5, 13.5, are we finishing done then at just 13,005? Say 14 for one more. I'll tell you what, I'll take the 250. Shouldn't need to. Would anyone like a call to buy? If not, we'll count it down. At 13,500 with the online bidder here at 13.5. At 13.5, 13.5 once. At 13,500 twice. Finishing done then with you online bidder at £13,500 finishing done. That is your bid online at 13,500. We are a little way off, so wouldn't hold your breath on that one. And you are 3043. Right, moving on down we go to lot number 164. Another lovely little car in today's sale. I absolutely love this one. It's 1988. It's the Alfa Romeo Spider. Have a good look at this, ladies and gentlemen. What a little classic car this is. Great little Alfa. And you're in online at 3. I got 3.5. Could you go 4? At 3,005. At 3,005's bid. At 3,000, 3,005. 4's bid with you, 4.5. I've got 5 here. I need to see 5.5 next from either one of you. At £5,000. At 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. 2 bidders online. Would any of you like to go 5.5? At 5,005, you do, and I'm out now. Thank you very much online. You're in at 5,005. We'll take the quarter bites now. We're out on the commission book, and you're in online at 5,005. At 5,000, 5,005. At 5,500, anyone for 750? At 5,000, 5,005. Lovely little Alfa Spider here at just 5,005. 5,750, new bidder again. At 5,750. With you in Lanarkshire at 5,750 and 6,000 bid. Lancashire bidder now at £6,000. At 6,000, 6,000, 6,000, say 250 to come back in. At 6,000 is the bid. Would anyone like another 250 here on the Alfa? At 6,000 bid. At 6,000, £6,000. At £6,000 is the bid with you online. At £6,000. At 6,000, 6,250 for one more if you wish to go again. At 6,000, 6,000, 6,000. Are we finished? Are we done? The last chance in fair warning. We'll submit the bid to the vendor today. At 6,000 once. At 6,000 twice. All finished and done with you online bidder at £6,000. That is yours provisionally online at £6,000. That is a provisional bid. 19283. 19283. Thanking you. Moving on to lot number 165. Another lovely car in today's sale is this 2008. It's the Aston Martin Vantage, and it's the V8 there. Look at this one. Absolute beautiful British sports car. This is... Who's got 10,000 to start? 2000 Vantage Aston Martin. 10,000 to start. Surely, thank you online. 10's bid. I've got 11. 11's bid. £11,000 on the Aston now at 11,000. Say 12. You're in online and I'm out already. At £12,000, your bid. At 12,000, 12,000, 12,000 on the Aston Martin here at just £12,000. At 12,000 bid. At 12,000, 12,000. Say 13 if you're coming in. At 12,000 is the bid now at 12. At 12,000, 12,000. I'll take 500s if it helps anyone out. Would anyone like 12.5 for an Aston Martin? Are we sure? At 12,000 bid. At 12,000, 12,000 is the bid now 12. At £12,000. At £12,000 is the bid here online at just 12,000 finishing done. At £12,000, 12.5 new bidder at 12,005. Say 13 if you're coming back in. At 12,005. At 12,000, 12,005 and 13's bid now with you online bidder at 13,000, 13,000. At 13.5. At 13.5's back in. At 13.5, say 14 for one more online. At 13,005. At 13.5 and 14 bid. At 14.5. Leamington jumping in now at 14.5. New bidder with you at 14,005. You nearly missed this one, didn't you? At 14,005. At 14.5, 14.5. Thank you, Leamington. You're in there at 14.5. Underbidder. Liverpool, you coming back for 15. At 14,005. At 14.5. At 14,500 is the bid now at 14.5. Are we finished? Are we done? Last chance in fair warning and 15's back in. New bidder again. Welcome to you in Devon at £15,000. At 15,000, 15,000. At 15,000 is the bid. Would you like 5 anywhere else at £15,000? At 15,000, 15,000. Are we finished and done then? Last chance in fair warning. Online bid at £15,000. We're looking for you online underbidder. Would you like to go 500 for one more? At 15,000 is the bid. At 15,000, 15,000. We're going to count it down then. With you online currently at £15,000 the bid then once. 15.5's back in. Leamington, there you are at 15.5. Your bid at 15.5. At 15.5, 15.5. Would anyone like to go 16 here? Find a cheaper Aston Martin, ladies and gentlemen, at just 15,005. 16's back in, thanking you at £16,000. At 16,000, 16,000, 16,000. Leamington, would you like to go 5 for one more? There's 2 of you left now at £16,000. Currently with our Devon bidder here at 16,000 bid. At 16,000, 16,000. Take 5 for one more, if not once. At 16,000, 16,000 twice. Finishing done then. Last chance in fair warning. We'll submit the bid today. Finishing done at £16,000. All sure and done. Your bid online at £16,000. That is a provisional bid there at 16,000. And that is to bidder number 739. Moving on down the list we go. Ladies and gentlemen, lot 166, 1970, the Wolseley. Look at the two-tone colouring on this one. Doesn't it look great? That blue in red there. It's almost British themed. Anyone got £2,000 to start? Surely, 2,000 to go on the Wolseley here. 2,000 to go. £1,000 then to kick it off today. Anyone interested? £1,000. Grab a bargain. £1,000 needs to be. Can't go any lower. If you wish to start it off today, it's got to be £1,000. Anyone interested here? Thousands bid. Thank you. At £1,000. At £1,000 bid. Say 1,200 next. At 1,000 bid. At £1,000 now. At 1,000, 1,000, 1,200's bid. At £1,200 is the bid now at 12 and 14's bid. At 1,400. Say 16 for one more. At 1,400 bid. At 1,400, 1,400's bid. At 1,400 we're bid. At 1,400, 1,400, 1,400. Thank you. At 1,400 online, I need to see 16 next. At 1,400, 1,400, 16 for one more if you're coming back in. Are we finishing done at just £1,400? Make no mistake. On the Wolseley this time and away. At 1,400 once, twice. Finishing done then at just 14 and 16's back in. At 1,600. Welcome to you in Norfolk at 1,600. At 1,600, 1,600. Take 18 from anywhere else now. At 1,600 are we finished and done? At 1,600, 1,600 once. At 1,600 twice. All finished, all done then at £1,600. Provisionally with you online at £1,600, and that is 678 Norfolk bidder thanking you. It's your bid. Moving on down the list we go to lot number 167, year is 2007. We have this Mercedes. It's the ML420, big one. This is the CDI 4MATIC there. Nice ML this one as well. Anyone got £2,000? Two's bid at 2,000 now. At 2,000's the bid now at 2. Say 2-2 if you're coming in at £2,000. Anyone for 2-2? 2-2 you do. At 2,002, 2-4. At 2,004, would you like 2-6? 2-6 is bid. At 2,006. At 2,000, 2,006, you coming back for 2-8. At 2,006, gentleman's bid here. At 2,006, I'll take 2-8 now. At 2,600 is the bid now at 2,006. Are we finishing done? Would you like to go again online at 2,600 once? Are we sure? Are we done? At 2,600 twice. Finishing done then at £2,600. That is your bid provisionally, sir, at 2006, 351. Thank you, 351. £2,600 provisional bid. We'll make that phone call. Moving on to lot number 168, then lot number 168, Yamaha XS2. Look at this. I love the color combination on this one. As soon as you walk through that other room on the right-hand side, it looks absolutely great there in that color. I'm straight in at 1,000, 11, 12, £1,300 we start. At 1,300, 1,300. At 1,300's bid. At 1,300 here. At 13, say 14 next. At 1,300 is the bid now at 13. 14's in. 15's my bid. At 1,500 with me. At 1,500, 1,500. At 1,500, 1,500. Anyone for 16 now? A lovely little Yamaha this is at just £1,500. At 1,500, 1,500. Are we finished and done then at just 1,500? Last chance in fair warning. Cheap like this at 16's bid. My commission interest is out and you're in online at 1,600. At 1,600, 1,600. Say 17 for one more. At £1,600 is the bid now at 16. Are we finished and done? Would you like to go again online or anywhere else? At 1,600 once. At 1,600, 1,600 twice. Finishing done then at £1,600. Provisionally with you online at £1,600. I missed that paddle number there. 739. Thank you. That is a provisional bid. Moving on down the list, we go to lot number 169. Lot number 169. Look at this one. 2002 Porsche 911 as well. Nice little 911 this is. I got several commission interests. Surprising as it was a late entry here. I'm going to go straight in. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10,000 we start. At 10,000, I'll say 500 if anyone wants to bid. At £10,000. At 10,000, 10,000, say 5. At 10,000 is the bid now at 10 on the Porsche 911 here at 10,000 bid. At 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Anyone for another 5? At 10,000, are we finished and done then? Last chance in fair warning. 10-5's bid. £11,000 back to me though. At 11's bid. Say 5 for one more. 11,000, 11,000. 11,000 is the bid now at 11. 11.5, you're in online and I'm out now at 11,005. 12,000 if anyone else wishes to bid. The bid's online at 11,005. 11.5, 11.5, 11.5. 12's bid now at £12,000. 5 again. At 12,000 bid. At 12,000, 12,000 bid now at 12. At 12,000, 12,000 online bid. Are you coming back for one more? At 12,000, are we finished and done? Would you like to go again? At just 12,000 is the bid now at 12. At 12,000, 12,000, 12,000. We'll count you down online. Make no mistake here. At 12,000, the bid then once. At 12,000, 12,000, the bid then twice. All finished and done at £12,000. Make no mistake, finished and done at 12,000. Provisionally at 12. 395, 12,000. That is a provisional bid. Moving down the list, we go to lot number 170. Lot number 170, 2012 Jaguar XF there. It's the premium luxury edition, the V6 Auto as well. Anyone got 2,000 to start? 2's bid. That's 2,000 now. Say 2-2 if you're coming in. At £2,000. Nice little Jag this for the money at £2,000. At 2,000 bid. At 2,000, 2,000's a bid now at 2. 2-2, 2-4, 2-6 is come in. At 2,006. Say 2-8 if you wish to go again. At 2,600 we're bid. At 2,000, 2,006. Are we finishing done at just 2,006? Would anyone like to go 2-8? At 2,006 is the bid now at 2,006. At 2,006 all finished and done then. Last chance in fair warning this time in a way at 2,600 once. Twice. Finishing done at 2006. There we go. 2006, 430, 2,600. That is provisional again. £2,600 provisionally. Moving on down we go to lot number 171. One of my favourites in the sale. Save the best for the near the end. It's the 2015. It's the Land Rover Defender. It's the 110 XS TD. Look at all the stuff you're getting here. It's the Chelsea truck and a can build as well. You don't get much more special than this. I'm straight in 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, £20,000. Can I say 2 next? At 20,000's bid. At 20,000 is the bid now at 20,000 here on the Defender at £20,000. At 20,000, 20,000 2 if you're coming in. At 20,000 is the bid now at 20,002, 22, 24. At 24,000 now. At 24, 24. At 24,000 is the bid. Would you like to go 6? 26 you do. Find another like this. 28 bid. At £28,000 is the bid now at 28. Coming back in for the 30 online bidder. At 28,000 is bid now at 28. At 28,000 bid. At 28, 28. At 28,000, say 30 if you're going to go again. At £28,000, the bid is here with me. At 28,000. At 28, I'll tell you what, I'll take 30 bid. At £30,000. I'm out and you're in online at £30,000. At 30, we'll go in the ones now at £30,000. If anyone else wants to join in, the bid is here online at 30,000. Say 1 for one more at £30,000. At 30,000 on the Defender this time and away, then at £30,000. Make no mistake, lovely Defender this is. Find another like this at £30,000. At 30,000, 30,000, are we finished? Are we done? At just £30,000 with the online bid. I'll take 1 if anyone wants to jump in. Now's your chance. At 30,000, 30,000. At £30,000 is the bid now at 30,000 once. at 30,000 twice. Your bid then online with you at £30,000, all finished and done then at £30,000. Your bid online at £30,000, 3030, £30,000. That is a provisional bid there then at £30,000. Thanking you. Lot number 172, Wolseley Hornet, 1962. No reserve today. Who's got £500 for the Hornet here? £500. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, bid them up. 5's bid. Thank you, sir. At 500. We'll go 6 next. At 500 bid. Gentleman's bid here on the floor. At £500 bid. Say 600 if anyone wants to come in. It must go today, no reserve, so make no mistake. This is going to be a bargain, isn't it? At £500, gentleman's bid. I can't keep it open forever unless anyone wants to bid 6. At 500, 500. Hammers up online once, twice, 600. They were waiting for it, sir. 7's bid. Thank you. At £700. At 700, 700. Don't leave it too late online. You might miss out. At £700, gentleman's bid here. We'll count you down again, so make no mistake. 800's bid. 900. Gentleman's back in. £1,000, please, if you're coming back in online. At 900's the bid. At 900, 900. With the gentleman down seated at the front. At 900 once. 1,000 back in. 11 bid. 1,100. Gentleman's back in at 11. Take it to 12 online. We'll count you down again. You obviously like the drama at home. At 1,100 once, twice, 12, 13. 2 bidders then jumping in. Would you like 14, sir? 1,400, thank you. At 1,400, 1,400. Say 15 again. At £1,400 is the bid. At 1,400, 1,400 once. At 1,400, 15's bid. 1,600 now. 1,600, 17. Gentleman's in at 1,700 on the floor. At 1,700, 1,700. Make it 18 if you're coming back in, but the hammer's staying up. At 1,700, 1,700. Are we finished and done? 18's back in now with the Norfolk bidder. 19. Gentleman's bid, 2,000, 2-1, 2-1's in and away, 2-2, 2-3, at 2,003, 2-4, thank you Norwich, 2-5, at 2,005, at 2,005, are we finished and done here? At 2,005, gentleman's bid once, gentleman's bid twice, I sell, left-handed, this time and away at 2,500, make no mistake, so thank you, 356, wow, 356. 2,500. There we go. You've left that auto accept on, haven't you? There you go. Dinging away in my ears. The last lot of the day, ladies and gentlemen, the last ride home. And before we do, we just got last little update in. Lot 157 sold away at 4,500. The last car of the day, the year 2000, Mercedes SLK is the 230 compressor. No reserve today at all. And I don't know what's gone on. We're starting at take 250 with me, say 150 with me, so just turn off that auto accept. Type it in there a minute. Type in 150 into that box. And hit enter. Post to floor because I've got that bid. And we'll take 75 next, okay? Yeah. There's 25. There we go. 150's bid, you're in at 175. I've got 200. We're in the 25s on this. The last lot of the day, please bid up if you wish to bid. 225's bid at 225. At 225, say 250, 250 bid. At 250, 275. At 275, 275. County Antrim now. 250, gentlemen. 300's bid. 325, they're running off online. Gentleman's bid at 350, not you. 375. At 375, 4. At £400. And 25 now. At 425, 425. 450's bid. At 450, 475, 475. Your bid online at 475, 500 a bid now, 525. At 525, 550 bid. At 550, 575. At 575, 575, 575. 6 is bid. At £625 a bid now, 625, 650. It's all online here. I'll come back to you. 675. At 675, 675. Anyone for 7. Gentleman's bid at £700. At 700, not you online. 25 if you're coming back. 725, yes please. 750's bid. At 750 to bid now, 750. Gentleman's bid at 750, not you online. Take 75 at 750 bid. Gentleman's bid here. Anyone else like to have a go? At 775. At 775 and 8. 800 bid. 800, 800, 800. Would you like 25? 825. Gentleman's back in. At 825 is the bid now at 825. Take 850 if anyone else wishes to bid. 850, thank you online. You're in. Somerset, 850, 875. 875 back to the floor. At 875 bid. Say 9 if you're coming back in now. At 875 is the bid. Are we finished and done then? It's hammer time and away it goes. 925. Thank you, sir. At 925, 925. At 925, the bid now 925 and 950's bid. At 950, 975. Gentleman's back in at 975. £1,000, please, online. 1,000. I'm going to ask for 50 next if we can. Would you go 1,050? 1,050, gentlemen's in. At 1,050, make it 11 if you're coming back. 1,100 you do. At 1,100, 1,100. Would you like 50? 1,150's back in. At 1,150 bid. At 1,150, 1,150, make it 12. If not, hammers up, we're selling. At 1,150, gentlemen in the room in 12's bid. At 1,200, 1,200, 1,200, shakes the head here. Anyone else for 50? It's going to sell today. It's off too. Where are we going? Malvern Hills at the minute at £1,200. Say 50 for one more. Are we finishing done? Last chance in fair warning there. 1,200 once. 50 sneaking back in. Thank you, sir. 1,250. Online, would you like 13? At 1,250 once, 13's back in, thanking you. At 1,300, Malvern Hills back. Keen bidder today. At 1,300, 1,300. Would you like another 50, sir? Done and dusted. Online with you at 1,300 once, twice. Finished and done. Last chance. Fair warning. I'm going to sell 1,350. New bidder in Southampton at 1,350 bid. At 1,350, 1,350. Would you like 14? Make it nice and quick if you do. At 1,350. The hammer's staying up. At 1,350, 1,350. Once, twice. Finished and done. 14 back in now. 14. Thank you, Malvern Hills. At 1,400 a bid. At 1,400, 1,450 for one more if you're coming back. At 1,400 once, twice, finished and done, I sell. 1,450 bid. At 1,450, 1,450. At 1,450, would you like to go again? At 1,450, we go once, twice, finished and done. Going to sell. At 1,450, all finished and done. Sold at 1,450, thanking you online. And you are bidder number 19044. There's another one that was the one that sold earlier. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that is today's sale concluded with. Thank you very much for coming. Please do not forget about our platinum sale at the end of the month. There is some great cars coming into that. Some lovely Bentleys, Rolls-Royces. Had a good look around. And we have the pink Cadillac from Pink Cadillac. That's one you do not want to miss out. Also, do not forget timed auctions every other Thursday now. They used to be a weekly, and they're now bi-weekly. So every 2 weeks, we have timed auctions online. It's always worth getting over and having a look because there are some bargains to be had on there. Thank you very much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you all again next time. Thank you and goodbye.